welcome to another reaction stream. We're looking ahead to Game Week 11 and reacting to Game Week 10. What an amazing week, isn't it? And I thought last week was bad, at least on the Saturday, and to be fair, it was looking even bleaker than it was now, or than it is now, but yeah. I'm pretty much all out, no one else to come in, and look how many points I have on my bench. Don't be surprised if Townsend notches a goal or two tomorrow against Wolves. But I have to say, I did make a big mistake with the goalkeepers, so I have to take fault for that, of course. Livramento, I probably still don't really regret that decision. I don't think I would have benched anyone in my starting 11. I know Palace have a good record against Manchester City at the Etihad in particular, but I never expected them to, win 2-0, and I think the red card changed the whole game. But then again, even before that, City were looking very vulnerable. So it was just one of those weeks. Even Antonio, West Ham scored 4 goals, and Antonio's not involved in any of them. It is what it is. You've got to take the points you actually got. Very happy with Rafinha. He's going to get 9 points overall. Happy with Chilwell. Brought him in, got 8 points. Obviously, Reece James was the main man this week with 21. Foden, I have to say this about Foden. Very impressed by him. And got the assist for Gabriel Jesus' goal. Got disallowed, but he had such a good performance, Foden. I'm very encouraged by it. And yeah, I got rid of Saka for a hit, but I think it ultimately pretty much ended up the same because I got Chilwell in for Azpilicueta, who didn't even start, which very much surprised me, and I'm pretty sure it surprised a lot of us. Vardy getting 1 point, got a yellow card. And still, I think Vardy going into the next few weeks facing Leeds, for example, I think he can do really well. Tony, once again, had a good chance against Burnley, but just not converting them at the moment, and hopefully he can get his shooting boots on. But overall, I'm still happy with this team. But this is funny. I actually made a transfer already. This is becoming a bit of a theme at the moment, making early transfers. And I made it yesterday before the price rise, and I'll be talking about it later on. But I don't recommend anyone doing the same thing. But to be honest, I love making transfers, and it is a bit of a fun part. But yeah, maybe I am losing my cool a little bit. Thank you very much to everyone who is tuning in on this Friday. What's Friday? I'm losing track of the days. On this Sunday, a bit earlier than anticipated. I was actually going to do this around 7, but here we are. We are around 6:30, and here we go. Lipuk, welcome. My bench, Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, Livramento, Duffy. Damn, that is pretty tight, especially, the first 3 names, and I made the same mistake with Ramsdale. I'm not making it again. Thank you, Ninja, for waiting, and Jack knows football. Playing Foster over Ramsdale has hurt my rank. Same here. Only a difference of 8 points, but for a goalkeeper, that's a huge swing. You never expected it, and I think I was playing too smart, just speaking on my behalf. And I was actually getting the better of the kind of goalkeeper rotation with Foster and Sanchez, but not this time around, and I definitely made a mistake. I have to say, though, Leicester should have scored, and Arsenal were very lucky. I think Leicester actually had the highest, or one of the highest XGs of the weekend. Of course, XG isn't everything, and stats aren't everything. How much points? Oh, I can't even speak. How much points you got, boys? Well, Emil, I've got, 40? -4, so yeah, not looking too good. Ramsdale, best keeper in the Premier League. I think that's a bit reactionary. I think Alisson, Martinez, Mendy, they're the top 3 keepers. Ederson's also up there, of course. And then, yeah, maybe Ramsdale at the moment is one of the best keepers in the Premier League, but that's on current form rather than, overall. I got 43 points. Yeah, I mean, it's not looking too good for most of us, but, next week I think we'll do much better. Delighted, 69 points after auto subs with Townsend left to play. That's really good, Jonathan. You're definitely getting 70 plus points, maybe even 75 plus. So fair play. I regret selling Ronaldo. It's only 1 week though, and the same thing, stands. For 12.6 million or 12.4 he is now, isn't he? Is he really worth keeping? You're not going to be captaining him, and it just limits your budget elsewhere. But of course, Ronaldo, really good performance. I thought he would score against Spurs, and he did. I got 61 points. That's really good. You bench Ramsdale, big L. Yeah, I know that, mate. But you know what? Arsenal won. And at least I didn't jinx my Arsenal players, because when I actually got Ramsdale into my team, no clean sheets. He forgot what a clean sheet was, unfortunately. Captain Vardy, says Manish. Yeah, I thought Vardy would score, to be honest. And I thought Leicester would maybe get a goal or 2. And they should have. So it is what it is, Lanzini has thoroughly annoyed me today. Took Antonio's assist away. Yeah, Antonio could have had 2 assists. He had like 2 pre-assists, if anything. And yeah, Antonio got robbed, to be honest. But it is what it is. I think Antonio will bounce back. I know he's facing Liverpool next, but I think he could actually do pretty well there. Bad week, man. Got Foden instead of Sarr for a -4. But I still think long-term that's the right move. And the same goes for me, getting rid of Saka. Yeah, he got an assist on his 100th Premier League appearance, but Saka had an awful game. Foden was much better. Should have got an assist, and unfortunately, it got ruled out. Start Rafinha or Grealish next week. That's a tough one. I probably would start Rafinha. I think he can do really well against Leicester. Tony for Antonio. Antonio's fixtures are bad. They're bad, and obviously Chelsea, Manchester City, and Liverpool, of course, three of the best teams in the world and in England. But I think Antonio can do well against Liverpool. If you saw their performance against Brighton, very, very vulnerable. So I think Antonio could do well, and West Ham could cause some problems, but you'd still expect Liverpool to win that game. Vardy and Rafinha, or Son and Alba. I would still say that's a tough one, actually. That's a really tough one. I'm still not that convinced about Aubameyang as an asset. I mean, you saw Arsenal score 2 goals. He wasn't involved in any of them. Son, of course, really good player. Nuno might be sacked today, if anything, and I'm not too surprised by that. But I like Vardy and Rafinha more as a combo. But then again, Rafinha has been pretty poor this season as an FPL asset. It's a tough one. I'd probably go for Vardy and Rafinha. I think Vardy's better than Aubameyang. Yeah, Son's way better than Rafinha, but as a duo, I'd rather have that. Sissoko and Douglas Luiz to Mbeumo and Smith Rowe thoughts. Yeah, I'm assuming you might have 3 forwards already. So you're going to have this classic case of 8 forwards. So just be prepared for that. You're going to have to bench one of them every week, and sometimes they'll go against you. Douglas Luiz, I think, has COVID. That's why he didn't play today. So just a bit interesting. How Leicester blanked is beyond me. Ever since I bought Vardy and Leicester haven't won, is it time to try Alba? Look, it's very difficult to say get rid of Vardy when he has Leeds next, so I would hold. Yes, I know he faces some tough games after. Let's actually look at his fixtures quickly. I think he faces Chelsea soon. Yeah, he does. But then Watford, Southampton, Villa, Newcastle. You probably want him for that run. And if we kind of look at it logically, when he had that little run just before we got him in, he was facing Brighton, who, to be fair, decent defence, but then Burnley, Palace, and Man United. 3 of the worst defences in recent weeks. So you're not too surprised of Vardy doing really well. Brentford was very unlucky. He had that knee injury, and it happened before the game even started, and then of course he got subbed off at half-time. Arsenal, though, conceded so many chances. Leicester should have scored at least a goal or 2, and Arsenal were very lucky, to be honest, to not concede. I still think Arsenal were deserved victors, but to be honest, Leicester did dominate in the second half, and Arsenal still have my doubts about them, and I wouldn't be surprised if I bring Ramsdale into my starting lineup next week and he blanks, but I think you should keep Vardy, long story short. 100 points, James triple captain. Jesus Christ, that's crazy, to be honest. Fair play, mate. Triple captain him. Damn. Got 39 points. You beat me by 1, but there's Everton game left. Well, technically, mate, I took a hit. So if you didn't take a hit, you got more points. Reece James for Diaz was your move. I saw it in a dream. What? You saw in a dream? Well, your dreams must be very weird, mate, and maybe very insightful. I have White as my second sub. To be honest, not really the worst decision in the world. Not many people expected Arsenal to keep a clean sheet against Leicester. Got 61 points with Hwang left to play, says Tero. Yeah, that's a very good score, to be honest. I'd take 60 points, definitely. Fair play, mate. Was planning to go Jota to Son for free this week. Should I still go for it? I still think it's the right move. Jota might start in the next game, but Son is just a better asset overall, and Jota's going to have this way. Occasionally, he's not even going to play or just come off the bench. Did James to Chilwell Friday night? Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, whenever you do a move like that, it can always backfire, but that's very unlucky. And Chilwell, I'd still argue, is probably the better asset of the 2, but of course, James right now is the kind of flavour of the month or of the week. Thank you, Niraj, for tuning in. Do you think it's worth to keep Antonio? Recent performance is not very good. If replaced, who would you go for? Thanks. Great question, Laszlo. And I'm thinking of the same thing, obviously. But I've already made my transfer, so I'm probably going to be keeping him ahead of the next game. Yeah, I've talked about this in my preview and also in my team selection. So you look at the fixtures up until Game Week 17, really poor. He's facing Liverpool, City and Chelsea. Even Arsenal to a certain extent. That could be a tough game for West Ham. And honestly, you probably could just bench him if you do decide to hold on to him, so you don't have to get rid of him. But then again, there are different choices you can go for. So of course, Vardy, I'd still recommend him. Aubameyang's not a bad shout, although I would still prefer Vardy. Harry Kane, I just can't really advocate for him at the moment, but if he can turn his form around, then he's definitely someone to look at. Cristiano Ronaldo ahead of those fixtures from Game Week 13 or 15 onwards. But of course, looking at realistic options, around Antonio's price, Calvert-Lewin when he returns, which to be honest could be a while away. I'd be looking at Ivan Toney still, but to be honest, I am beginning to lose a bit of faith in him. Hwang, of course, He-Chan, he's looking really good this season, but bear in mind the underlying stats are very unsustainable. 4 goals from 7 shots overall. I don't really see that continuing, to be honest, with the points he's sustaining. Then we have, of course, Brocha when he's back fit. And I have to say, looking at the Southampton game, they were very impressive against Watford, and they should have scored more. Armstrong had a lot of shots, based on, the matches, the highlights I was seeing. He had 5 shots at least, so he was looking very sharp, and he could definitely be someone to eye. And Che Adams, he's in good form, but he's still someone I don't really trust. But I'd be looking at those sorts of options, but Hwang is the main one, I think, if you're kind of downgrading. Jimenez is still a good option, but I prefer Hwang at this moment in time. But just bear in mind, Jimenez is probably more consistent and sustainable with his underlying stats. Other than that, though, I'm not really too impressed by the other options, to be fair. But Brocha, when he's back fit and if he's starting, he's definitely kind of like one of the first names I'd be going for. Let's see. So 35 points with Hwang to go. Yeah, it's just one of those weeks, to be honest. At least you have someone to look forward to and you could get 40 plus points. I'm literally just stuck on 36. It's the worst week of the season so far. Kept Ronaldo captain and got 24 points. That's fair play, mate. And going against the crowd, but you still did well. And Ronaldo, actually, he has gone unbeaten against Spurs in 12 appearances, and that's pretty much a record for him. So he loves playing against Spurs, and yeah, I think his last Premier League assist actually came against Spurs back in 2009, so that just shows he loves playing against them. Antonio out for, oh Jesus, already with the voice cracks. Antonio out for Tony, says Dian. To be honest, it makes sense. Tony has the better fixtures, even the better underlying stats in recent weeks, but still not sure, because as we can see, Tony is not performing. But what I would say, if you have Tony, definitely don't get rid of him. Look who he plays next. Norwich at home. Literally, if you don't perform in this game, it makes you think, let me just get rid of this guy, he's useless. But Norwich at home, I think Tony will finally do well. But then again, I said that ahead of Gameweek 10. So, maybe I'm just, a bit of a fool with the faith, but yeah, I think it's worth it, to be honest. Long story short, Antonio out for Tony. You can do that and then bring Antonio back in around game week 16 or 18. Hopefully he can get his form back. Son only got 2 points and I got him for Rafinha. Yeah, this is the thing. I was talking about this whenever people ask, should I get rid of Rafinha for even Foden or Mount or Havertz, and especially for a hit, and I just said, look, if there's a chance of Rafinha playing, he's going to start, and he's facing Norwich, I'd keep him. Of course, Rafinha was actually looking really poor today, and he got that goal. He had that one moment, that one individual moment of brilliance, and he got the goal. So it's a tough one to take, but then again, when you're facing Norwich, just don't get rid of someone. And I say the same thing to anyone who has Mbumo or Tony. Don't get rid of them ahead of this fixture. I'm kind of baffed on transfers, not really any standout options. Yeah, there's always different options coming about every single week, so it is kind of, I'd say, tough to be settled completely on an 11, but to be honest, I'm pretty happy with my team, despite the poor performance. 62 points, I'm so happy. I would be too, Christian, fair play. Who are you captaining next week? Of course, nothing's confirmed. I'll be showing you my team in a little while, but most likely it'll be Salah, but I might change, of course. What do you think of this game week? I wish I could say I found it an amazing week where, I was just enjoying it so much. Happy Halloween, guys, but it's a terrible week, to be honest. It's the worst one I've had, but obviously I'm seeing some good scores going around. Happy for those people, but personally, looking at my own score, Jesus Christ, I'd rather not talk about it. Of course, Ramsdale being benched, that was a big mistake on my part, and I take full responsibility. Any tips on how to bounce back from a poor game week? That's a great question, Genius Gamer. Honestly, I think not overreacting, and maybe you shouldn't look at my example. I'm going to be showing you my transfer very soon. But obviously, stick to the plan, keep a cool head, and look, for example, I look at my team, I'm still really happy with it despite the poor score. So what I would say is try not to just think about every single different player you can fit into your team who just did well. Don't just be overreactionary and bring in everyone who did well in game week 10 or even in game week 9. Try to have a long-term strategy, stick to it. But the main thing, I think, is just to disconnect a little bit from FPL and only go on, set your team up, have a good idea of your transfer, but don't let it ruin your week and your mood, and just laugh it off. Whenever you have a bad week, laugh it off. I'm telling you, it makes such a difference, because if you're stressed, if you're angry, you make rage transfers, you make irrational decisions, and you ultimately just make your week even worse, or at least your future weeks. Will Maupay play against Newcastle, says Path. I think so, but obviously we'll get more information and everything when the press conferences come, but yeah, I'd assume so. Smith Rowe seems inviting, but the next matches, yeah, obviously I didn't expect Smith Rowe to do well against Leicester. He did. Fair play to anyone who has him. I'm still not that convinced about, kind of, let's say, undoing my team to bring him in. But, of course, he is looking like a good option. Around 5.6 million, he's looking like the best. Alongside Mbumo, if he can finally get those goals. 7k in the world, very good rank, mate. Fair play. All I need is some encouragement, says Joseph. It's just, I mean, I don't want to sound harsh or whatever. It's just a game, to be honest. Don't worry about it. Ultimately, next week, you could easily get double what you got this week, or even triple. So, literally, I'm very calm with my score, despite some mistakes I made, and also a bit of bad luck. You know, it happens. Brentford defenders worth it right now? Well, based on what we saw in Game Week 10, no. But I still think they're worth it. But I wouldn't double up. Definitely not. I think that would be excessive. And the only team I'd double up on right now in defence is Chelsea, to be honest. So, I still think Jansen's probably the one to go for. Henry's decent. And also Pinnock. And in goal, you can still go for Fernandes. Livramento saves me from the bench for the 4th time. Yeah, he saved me twice. But this time I wasn't so lucky. I mean, I put him second on my bench after all. So, I kind of shot myself there. Still a good team, says Christian. I think so. On paper it is. And I think I made it even better with the transfer I made. But let's wait and see. Move Asper Diaz to Chilwell or downgrade for moving to Son. At this moment in time, I'd have to say Azpilicueta. But then again, only 2 weeks ago, he looked so nailed and he looked so good for Chelsea. So it's a difficult one, of course. With Chelsea, there's going to be so much rotation. So maybe as soon as you get rid of Aspie, he starts to play and Chilwell's benched. But I think, I'd get rid of Aspie. Then again, though, I've actually gotten rid of Diaz. So whoever said that transfer of Diaz to James, you're absolutely right. I'm going to try jinx Reece James. If I don't get the points, let me try jinx him. Here he is with Chilwell. And to be honest, I'm happy with the rest of my team. I don't mind if Livramento or Townsend have to come on for me, especially if Nuno's still in a job by game week 11. So to be honest, I'm happy with this team. Douglas Luiz is a bit of a doubt, but to be honest, I don't think I'm going to have to need him. And I'm very happy with the team, to be honest. I know, obviously, I was happy going into game week 10 and look how it turned out, but you can't do it every week. It's impossible. If you got 60 plus points every single week, you'd finish in a really good rank, and if it's even higher than that, obviously even more so. But that's how my team is looking like. Go on, call me reactionary. It's funny, sometimes I like doing these little transfers that are just absolutely random and have no thought process behind them, really. Kane out for Ronaldo, says Matic. It's a tough one to say because obviously Ronaldo has been way better this season, but with Harry Kane having that fixture swing from game week 12 onwards, I'd probably say hold on a little longer. If you got him in, just wait. Happy Halloween to you as well, Manish, and to everyone else. Haven't really celebrated it, to be honest, but I did watch a few horror films yesterday. But then again, I can just see my FPL team and I can see quite a bit of a horror show. Greenwood to Smith Rowe. I think that's actually a good move and you can get a bit of money in the bank. Very surprising that Greenwood got benched and United pretty much played with no wingers. Ronaldo was, if anything, playing as a left winger at times. So, I'd probably go ahead with that. Should I make an early transfer for Foden if he's expecting a price rise? He would be replacing Sarr. Look, trying to think of it logically, I'd say if you can help it, wait until the press conferences. Obviously, I didn't do that myself with Reece James, and I got him in just before his price rise, which was always inevitable. But I probably would say, look, you ultimately want to get Foden. If you can help it, just wait for the press conferences, especially if you don't have too much squad depth. Went for Chilwell and Foden on a Game Week 8 wildcard was 300k, now 7k. Yeah, exactly. One wildcard or one decision or two players like that you mentioned, they can make the difference. And that's what I'm hoping I can do with Chilwell and James now in my team. And I'm not expecting both of them to start in Game Weeks 11 and 12, but the kind of idea there is that one of them will start every single week at least, and they're the most explosive Chelsea asset, that they have. Getting Reece James for Duffy. To be honest, but then again, you don't have to go extremely big at the back. If Duffy was your 5th defender, I would still try downgrade one of your defenders to a Livramento if you don't have him already, but definitely, I'd say it's worth it. I regret not transferring Aspie to Chilwell for -4 in Game Week 10. Should I make the move now instead? At least you saved that hit and maybe someone else like Livramento came on for you, but I'd probably go ahead with it. Who would you bring in this week? Well, it depends who you don't have already, terrific, but I've brought in Reece James. And to be honest, is, I'd say, slightly reactionary, but ultimately, you know what? I've kind of got a few ulterior motives behind it. But I'd say a Chelsea fullback, if you don't have them already, Reece James or Chilwell. I still prefer Chilwell, just to make that clear. Heung-min Son is still a good long-term move, but what I would say is that games like the one against United, they show exactly why a lot of people don't have faith in Spurs assets, because they can actually go out having a shot on target for an entire half, and in their case yesterday, for the entire game, which is absolutely ridiculous. Douglas Luiz has COVID, yeah, exactly. And I think Ings, he either has COVID or he has a hamstring issue. I'm not sure what Dean Smith has said since the game has ended. Hey Dylan, my worst game week, so freaking disappointed. Don't worry, mate. I've had my worst game week too. A lot of people have had their worst game weeks, and in turn, some people have had their best ones, but it's going to kind of go for us and against us sometimes. Duffy to Reece James or Antonio to Jesus? Definitely Duffy to Reece James path for me. Keep Mount. Well, I'd still keep him. He is ill, but I don't think it's COVID, and he should be fine for game week 11. I still think he's a really good option. So yeah, I think it's fine. I've got Gallagher on my bench unless Jimenez doesn't play. Yeah, Jimenez probably will play, unfortunately. And Gallagher, what a performance against City. Fair play. Should we keep Antonio? Well, this is the thing. You either keep him for the long run, or you just get rid of him now and get him back in around game week 16 or 18. But I think if you don't really have other transfers planned, you can actually just get rid of him and get him back in after he's played the best 3 teams in the country and arguably in the world. So I'd say get rid of him, get someone like Tony if you still back him. Hwang Hee-chan is looking really good. Obviously, just bear in mind the unsustainability of his stats, and Broca when he's fit. But other than that, you're looking at Bamford, he's still injured. Calvert-Lewin is injured. Otherwise, one of them could be really good as well. Gabriel Jesus isn't too bad, but I just prefer Foden, and like I said before, I'm really impressed by Foden despite his blank in game week 10. So yeah, that's kind of some of the names I'd say. I got Cornet and Reece James in right before the price rise yesterday. Good shout or nah? Well, Cornet is actually someone that was mentioned by a few viewers in this channel, and I like the idea, and he did so well. And fair play to anyone who got him in before game week 10. But I think those are good transfers. I'm actually considering Cornet for my own team. Really impressed by him. Obviously, we have this preconception of Burnley, but maybe we have to change our minds a little bit. They're a bit more offensive. They played some amazing football. Obviously, albeit it was against a very poor Brentford on the day, but still very impressive. When did you switch to James? Yesterday. Basically, as soon as he got the 2 goals and the game ended, I was like, okay, Reece James, very impressive. Well done, mate. How about you doing my team? And I got him in. So yeah, it was before his price rise. Obviously, I don't recommend anyone doing the same thing. I was just having a little bit of fun. And if I don't, get the points, I like to think I jinxed them. So either way, a win, it's a win. Should I keep Gray, Rafinha, Ronaldo, Antonio, and CR7, or keep them for another week? Good question. I'd keep Rafinha ahead of the next few games, perhaps. He's bought himself a little bit of time, but just bear in mind, he faced Norwich, the worst team arguably ever in the Premier League. I'd definitely keep, let's see, CR7, yeah, it's a tough one. He's facing City, but if you still have him, I'd probably just keep him now for that game week 15 fixture run, so I'd keep him as well. Antonio you could get rid of and then get him back in a few game weeks time. As for Gray, he's another one you could also get rid of. Third Chelsea defender, Mendy goalkeeper, Antonio to Hwang, Vardy to Ronaldo. I will not get rid of Vardy this week, especially to Ronaldo who faces City, so keep Vardy for now and then get Ronaldo around game week 15, so don't do that. Antonio to Hwang, that could be pretty decent. And Mendy goalkeeper isn't too bad, to be fair. Should I use my transfer on Sarr or Gray to Smith Rowe? Great question. I'd probably rather get rid of Sarr, but once he kind of gels into Ranieri's team, he could then start firing. But from what I've seen so far, I'd probably do that. Yeah, my game week squad is right here. Nothing special, to be honest. Only Chilwell, Salah, who just got an assist really, and Rafinha with 9 points. They're the only ones who returned. Everyone else blanked, and 2 players on my bench did well. Townsend could make it free tomorrow, so nothing special there. Diaz and Aspi replacements. Definitely one of the Chelsea fullbacks, Chilwell or Reece James, and I still think Cancelo. So one of those options. And of course, if you don't have him already, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Welcome rock and roll. Best Ronaldo replacements, already have Tony. I would say Hwang. I know it's a big downgrade. I wouldn't be going for Antonio, obviously. So Hwang Hee-chan is one of them. And maybe Brock out when he's fit, which could be ahead of Game Week 11. We don't know that yet. Let's see. Reece James saved my team. Yeah. Oh man, I wasn't actually so close, but if I did get him, that was a kind of swing of 13 points. These fine margins, Jesus, they can kill you sometimes. But I have him for game week 11. Hopefully he can do the business there, but if not, not too bad. Ramsdale, Sanchez long term. I still think Ramsdale. I talked about this before, and it's not reactionary. I think Ramsdale with the save points and the bonus points, he just gets them more often than Sanchez, and that's why I'd go for him. In terms of clean sheets, I think Arsenal and Brighton will keep a similar amount. If anything, Arsenal will probably keep more. So I think Ramsdale. Who would you choose from Mbuma versus Gallagher versus Cornet? Actually, at this moment in time, I have to say Cornet. Not this week. Obviously, they face Chelsea, but after that, get Cornet, I think. They've got some good fixtures coming up. and he's just playing in such an advanced position for Burnley, and he's looking so sharp. And that goal he scored right in the top corner, he's looking quality. Do you think Ollie will get sacked or not? Not right now. He bought himself a bit of time. I think, according to Fabrizio Romano and other journalists, apparently he's going to get the next 2 games now. So yeah, I think he's not going to get sacked. Nuno though, Espirito Santo, I think he could be sacked even tonight, according to the reports. Duffy to Livramento, done. Could not help it. Livramento is such a hero, and honestly, I probably should play him, and I'm thinking of playing him next week. Thank you for jinxing James in advance, because I'm yet to get him into my team. No problem, mate. Anytime, if anyone wants me to jinx any players, didn't manage to do it with Chilwell, which is a voice crack, but I'm looking to do it with Reece James, so if I do jinx him, no problem, you don't have to thank me, it's just a community service, I'd say. Dylan, who are you planning to captain next week? Well, let's actually look at my team for next week. So, at the moment, I've got it on Salah, but I am tempted to maybe captain Vardy or one of the Chelsea fullbacks. I don't think I'd be captaining Antonio. I might not even start him, to be honest. Tony against Norwich could be tempting, but I just haven't seen enough from Tony, especially in recent weeks, to really justify that. Arnold against West Ham, I'd rather captain Salah. I'm not captaining a goalkeeper. Watch Ramsdale get another double-digit return. Reece James or Chilwell is really tempting. Cancelo away to United, not really. And Foden could be a decent one, but United look much better, especially defensively, with that back three and Varane coming in. So I probably wouldn't be going there. It's between Salah, Vardy, and one of the Chelsea fullbacks. Let me know what you think. I might actually start Livramento instead of Cancelo or someone else like Antonio. Let me know what you'd do as well. Townsend, I'm happy to keep on the bench, but then again, if he does really well tomorrow against Wolves, I may change my mind. And by the way, as for my rank, so I'm currently 140k or whatever, but after subs, I go down significantly to around 161k. So a significant red arrow, and it's quite a few red arrows in a row, but and ever since I got my wildcard activated, but hopefully I can change things around, and yeah, not really too bothered by that. Community service, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just waffle, to be honest. Let's see. Arnold or James? I still prefer Arnold, to be honest. I'm not going to overreact to that. Antonio to Tony, already have Hwang. Yeah, I think so. But just bear in mind, Tony hasn't shown too much in recent weeks, but that fixture should be really good. And he has some good ones up until Game Week 19. What are your thoughts on Arsenal? Well, in the first half, they were very impressive, but at the same time, Leicester were really poor. So I'm not going to kind of buy into the hype. Emery a few seasons ago went on a 22-game unbeaten streak, and then look how that turned out. And, regardless, Arsenal have been good recently, but still, I'm not going to be too carried away. And to be fair, Leicester should have scored, and they could have even gotten a draw. Plans for a Diaz downgrade? Yeah, I've already made a change. I've done Diaz to Reece James. So there you go. I was confused about who to start between Foster and Ramsdale, but then I checked and found that Watford haven't kept a single clean sheet. Yeah, I was actually looking at Foster's points, and I still chose him, so that's my fault, to be honest, for not going for Ramsdale. But to be honest, I didn't expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet. Play Rafinha against Leicester, Antonio against Liverpool, or Livramento against Villa. I'd probably play Rafinha. If not Livramento, who's just, at the moment, such a great player, FPL-wise. I'm captaining Tony. Thoughts? Very risky, but the fixture's there, the best fixture you can hope for. So it could actually be time for a big haul for Tony. What to do with Azpilicueta? Obviously, it's tough. I think he's not, completely isolated from the team. He's going to start playing again, but it's just really difficult. If no Chelsea defenders nailed other than Rudiger, then you might as well go for Rudiger himself or one of those Chelsea fullbacks like Chilwell or Reece James, who are so explosive. So yeah, maybe a switch to one of them is on the cards. Would you keep Mbeumo versus Norwich or make a move to Smith Rowe? I'd keep Mbeumo. I wouldn't make that switch. Captain Chilwell versus Vice Captain James this week. That could be on the cards. What would really be frustrating if both of them are benched or if one of them is. Let's not even talk about that. I'm planning on bringing in Cornet for Sarr for Game Week 12. Yep, I think that makes complete sense. I do the same thing in your position, Shivan. Hey Dylan, how's your day going? It's going well. Thank you for joining in. Hopefully you are doing well too. I'll try and read all the comments I missed out, so apologies for that. Do I bring in James now for Azpilicueta or wait after Champions League? I'd wait after Champions League. I just did it now because, honestly, I don't care. But if you do care, I'd probably just wait a little bit, to be honest. Just bear in mind, he probably will go up in price after the Champions League games, or by that time. I've had Alonso hoping he'd play. Should I keep him or switch to Chilwell? I'd probably switch at this moment in time, but just bear in mind it could easily backfire and Alonso starts playing again, but I doubt it at the moment. Chelsea are looking really good at the moment, and Chilwell is their joint top Premier League scorer alongside, he was until Reece James scored the second goal, but yeah, those fullbacks are just looking really good at the moment. Should I sell Aspie? I probably would, to be honest, Sonny. My Game Week 11 squad: Ramsdale, James, Chilwell, Cancelo, Trent, Smith Rowe, Mbeumo, Son, Salah, Tony, Hwang. It looks good, Jet. Just trying to identify something. No, I think that's really good. Your defense is exceptional, and I like your midfield, to be honest. Son could do well against Everton. And yeah, your strikers are pretty decent. To be honest, there's nothing really to complain about there. Obviously, in a few game weeks' time, things can change. And maybe Smith Rowe isn't, that much of a good asset. If Mbeumo continues to blank, it might be time to get rid. But obviously, give him time. He's got the fixtures. Aspie, Cancelo, Trent, Diaz, Mbeumo, Saka, Kane, Armstrong, Jimenez, Rafinha. Thoughts? I'm not sure if Armstrong starts, but looking at his performance, he was really impressive, like I said, against Watford. So it'd be very harsh if he got dropped. But he just needs that finishing touch, to be honest, Armstrong. And looking at the rest of your team, I'm a bit concerned about Kane. I don't like Saka still. I know he got the assist, but really poor against Leicester, in my opinion. Still, it's a good team, and I'd just be a bit concerned about Saka potentially. Harry Kane, if he continues to blank. Armstrong, let's wait and see. And Jimenez. I'd still keep him, but in Game Week 14 onwards, you could probably get rid of him. Are you getting rid of Antonio for the next few weeks? Not yet. I've already made my transfer. I got Reece James in. So I'm probably just going to be keeping Antonio for now, but I might get rid of him ahead of game week, let's say 12 or 13. Rudiger to James. I probably wouldn't do that because Rudiger's still playing and he's more nailed than James at this moment in time. But to be fair, we said that about Azpilicueta. Look how that turned out. Should I sell Diaz or Walker for Chilwell? Yeah, I get what you mean. I'd rather get rid of Walker, but because of what you said and you can't afford Son that way, it makes it more difficult. I'd still probably get rid of Walker and then find another way to fund Son in the future. Gonna get Salah for 4 nows. Oh yeah, definitely get Salah, mate. You can't go without him, in my opinion. Save free transfer for international break. That is probably the smart thing to do, mate, but I'm not smart, so I made my transfer already, but that's a really good shout, to be honest. Thinking of doing Antonio to Tony this week and Havertz to Son, the next good moves. Honestly, mate, I think that's really good, and that's exactly what I would do in your position, Kai Havertz, to be honest. My team is Ramsdale, Chilwell, Trent, Reece James, and Livramento, Son, Salah, and Rafinha. Then Hwang, Vardy, Antonio. It's still good. Keep Vardy. Don't get rid of him this week. I like your defense a lot, especially with Reece James and Chilwell. If they both start, forget about it. They could be really good. And yeah, your team's looking good this week. But just bear in mind with Antonio, maybe you can downgrade him to a Tony, and that is a way to improve your team cop. What about Trossard? Yeah, he looked impressive. Really good goal against Liverpool, and he played as that false 9 for Brighton. So he could actually be someone to look out for. He could be the best Brighton attacker. He tends to be the best Brighton attacker in FPL, but still very inconsistent. Brighton, yeah, they were really good against Liverpool, but still, looking at the last 6 game weeks as a whole, they're not scoring too many goals. So let's just bear that in mind. But Trossard is a really good player, someone to look out for sure. I probably prefer Cornet though, looking at how he's played recently. 2 free transfers, Bite the Aspie to Chilwell, James Bullet before price changes. It's a tough one. I did it, to be fair. So if it was me, I would, but it is risky. It can always backfire. And you never know what can happen, but I probably would, to be honest. But yeah, the smart thing to do is probably to wait if you can. Does your mum get seasick? What kind of question is that? I might captain James. Yeah, I'm thinking of doing the same thing, to be honest. And if not, he's jinxed. James play next week? I'm not sure, to be honest, but I brought him in and looking forward to see what happens. Really like the James and Chilwell double up. 1 guaranteed to start every week, in my opinion, which is more than good enough. That's true because, yeah, they're both really offensive. If, both of them are benched, I don't know, I'd say it creates an imbalance in Chelsea's fullback system. So I think you're right, Harry. Hopefully you are, and you can get the points every single week. I think Son will absolutely kill everyone shaking defence next week. Yeah, I think he can do really well against Everton. I'm still planning to bring him in, but I can wait. I don't mind waiting until Game Week 13. Thoughts on Sanchez, Trent, Cancelo, Diaz, Rudiger, Salah, Jota, Rafinha, Saka, CR7, Tony. Livermore on the bench. Thinking of getting rid of CR7, Jota, or Rafinha. Yeah, I can see why. I'd get rid of Jota, to be honest. He's obviously, look, when he plays, he can do really well, but the problem with him is he's just sometimes he's not even going to play. You'd rather have Mount when he's not ill, and all these other assets around his price. So to be honest, I probably would. And looking at your team, I probably would get Foden. I know he faces United, but still a really good pick at the moment. Kobe, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. 50 points for Livramento off the bench and Hwang left. Had Gallagher third on the bench. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, who expected him to get double digits against City? I didn't. Do you guys still fancy Son even with Tottenham's poor form? Yeah, especially if Nuno gets sacked. But, you know, Son, a bit like Vardy, sometimes their respective teams are just going to be absolutely poor. So we just have to bear in mind. Is this your current rank? Yes, it is. Unfortunately, I was in the top 100k, but I've been having a few red arrows recently. Burger or pizza? Definitely pizza, but I do like burgers as well. It's a tough one, to be fair. If it's Argentinian burgers, for example, then it's really close, but Italian pizzas, mamma mia. Aspi and Diaz to James and Chile? Yeah, I probably would, to be honest. At this moment in time, anyway. Things can change. Would Cornet or both after international break? Just Cornet. I wouldn't go for both. Gallagher and Smith Rowe is good. I don't know who to go for. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. Over the season, I think Gallagher has been the better one, but Smith Rowe recently has been really good. Arsenal have turned things around a little bit, but I probably would say Gallagher. Not really too, keen on either of them personally, but they're both good options nonetheless. Brandon Williams to Ben White. Yeah, I'd say so. It's definitely an upgrade, but just bear in mind, if you have Livramento as well, then yeah, I think that's fine, to be fair. Captain Tony punt. I probably wouldn't go there myself, but the fixture is the best, and if you have a good feeling about it, go for it. But Tony just hasn't been getting that end product recently. Should I get Foden or Mount? Foden for me. Hwang or Tony? I still think Tony because of the fixtures, but Hwang has been better this season. Ramsdale versus Watford or Sanchez versus Newcastle? Ramsdale for me. I'll have benching headache this week, though, with Rafinha, Diaz and Broca on the bench. And also, do you know if Broca will be back roughly? We don't know yet when Broca will be back, but Hassan Hüttl wasn't, I'd say, too pessimistic about it. He said he's going to miss Game Week 10 for sure, but he could be back for Game Week 11, personally, judging by his comments and looking at the news. So I think he could be back by Game Week 11, if not Game Week 12. And as for your benching headache, Rafinha, Diaz and Broca, on the bench, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to bench Rafinha and arguably even Diaz. And if Brock is fit, you probably want to include him into your side. Yeah, to be honest, this game week was a write-off. I will get 38 minus 4. Going to roll the transfer this week and save 2 transfers to bring in Son Game Week 12. That's the smart thing to do, FPL Geek. Unfortunately, I haven't done that. But yeah, I think that's a really good move, to be honest. And it's a good reaction to a poor week. For Saw, I'll do Game Week 12 transfers for me. What? Apologies if I didn't understand that. Ninja, repeat that, please. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just bad decision making, just switching off players that do good this week out of all weeks. Think, look, and prep, and don't copy off Dylan. Well, to be fair, in FPL, I don't think that many people copy, hopefully. But yeah, either way, you probably don't want to. I mean, I'm literally just getting red arrows, so literally do the opposite of me, and you'll be fine. I have Christensen, Rudiger, Diaz, White, Cody. Which 3 should I start? Or should I sell one of them? Definitely start Rudiger. I'd start Christensen, to be honest, and that's tough. Probably White, but if you have Ramsdale, Sudindra, maybe just start Diaz and bench White. But I think Arsenal could keep a clean sheet this week. Pankaj says, I'm going to gamble and keep Ronaldo captain. I just feel he will know how to play through Diaz and Cancelo because of the training with Portugal. Fair enough. I probably still wouldn't go there. And still, I don't trust United, but maybe you're onto something there. Vardy, Jimenez and Antonio, any changes? Maybe Antonio down to Tony, or if not, Hwang Hee-chan. But then again, you probably wouldn't want to double up on Wolves' attack, but we'll see. That's what I'd probably do in your situation. How many people play FPL? Well, at the moment, I'm not sure how many players there are. Some accounts are pretty much dead accounts or second accounts, just to let you know, but 8 million maybe. Does Foden have rotation risk? Everyone has rotation risk at City, but at the moment Foden is one of the more nailed attackers and he's just such a good player. 2 free transfers going to do Rafinha to Gallagher and Christensen to Chilwell. Good moves. I still wouldn't get rid of Rafinha this week. I think he could outscore Gallagher, but I can understand why you're making that move. And Christensen to Chilwell, I'd probably do that for 1 free transfer. I'm thinking about doing Zaha to Sarr, but I will have 0.1 million in the bank. Is it a good move? I'm guessing you're getting rid of Sarr for Zaha. I'd still rather have Gallagher out of the 2, to be honest. And Zaha, I'm still not convinced about him, to be honest. I'd rather have one of the other options. When Michael Olise becomes a nailed starter, he's definitely one to look at. Whenever he comes off from the bench, he just gets an assist. He's really impressive. How about Mbumo? Still a good option. I'd keep him. He should be fine for Game Week 11, but I'm not going to be bringing him in for my team. I'm happy with my midfield for now. Ramsdale, the hero of my FPL team, and Arsenal this week ended on 51 points and steadily moving up the ranks. Hope all had a decent week. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't do the same thing with Ramsdale, but at least Arsenal won. Elise looks so good. Yep, if he's guaranteed to start, he's such a steal, and Palace have good medium-term fixtures. Yep, I actually wrote about him in an article before the season started when his transfer was confirmed from Reading. Yeah, he's looking really good. What transfers should I do for Game Week 12? Do you play UCL Fantasy? I do. I am 10k. I do play UCL Fantasy. I've made a few videos. If you want to check them out, Ninja. I make videos every single week, and I also do live streams. I've actually uploaded 2 videos today for UCL Fantasy. And as for what transfers I should do for Game Week 12, I don't know your team, so put your team forward, and I'll then suggest some. But obviously, you know, I think it's probably best to avoid what I'm recommending. Best replacement for Antonio, Richarlison. Not for me. I'd rather have Calvert-Lewin when he's fit, and Everton are just such an iffy team. But Richarlison's still a decent option, you know. Don't let me put you off. I'd rather have Tony, Hwang, and Broca when he's fit. Who scores more over the next 4, Mane or Bruno? Great question. I think Mane. Mane's actually got 6 goals in his last 8 starts, so he's looking pretty decent. Bruno is still ticking along nicely. Really good assist for Ronaldo, but the fixtures aren't really too good. They start turning in Game Week 15. So for now, I'd say Mane. What transfers do you think I should do? My team is Ramsdale, Cancelo, Trent, Rudiger, Aspi, Rafinha, Gallagher, Salah, Mbumo, Kane, Hwang, Raya, Antonio, Livramento, Cornet on the bench. Let's think about this one. So you don't have Chilwell or Reece James. I'd probably do Azpilicueta to one of them. I'd keep Rudiger for now, so long as he can maintain that starting berth, which he should. I think that's just a simple move. I'd do Azpilicueta to one of those Chelsea fullbacks. Other than that, I'd probably keep things the same, and then you can have maybe 2 free transfers going into Game Week 12. That could be an option, or 13. And then if Kane is still looking poor, you can get Son in the midfield and then downgrade Kane to a cheaper striker. But that's what I would do. I'd definitely get one of the Chelsea fullbacks for Aspi, based on what we've seen in the last 3 weeks. Tony or Mbumo? Tony for me still, but both of them haven't really been too impressive. Mbumo didn't play in the last week. Rafinha or Hwang, Palace? That's a tough one, to be fair. I'd still maybe say Rafinha, but it's not really an easy decision. Good evening, Flying Dutchman. Let's see. What are we saying about Havertz? Sell or hold? I'd definitely hold ahead of Burnley, despite how good they were in Game Week 10. Your team is literally the same as mine, says Cole. Yeah, I'm not too surprised. I just got Reece James in now, or yesterday. I wish I had him for Game Week 10. Zaha with Mount or Saka with Bowen? I would not be getting rid of Mount for Zaha, unless you're saying you're getting rid of Zaha for Mount. And Saka with Bowen, yeah, Bowen was really good today, but I'd still not go for him, especially with the fixtures coming up. So not for me. And Saka, not really too confident with him. I'd rather have Smith Rowe at the moment. Force on De Bruyne to Mane. I'd probably still not go for Mane. I know he's been really good, but look at the United game, for example. He was benched, and for someone of that price, you know, he has to start every game and be consistent like Salah, or, you know, maybe that's a bit unrealistic, but, you know, tick along nicely most game weeks. I'd still rather have Son or Jamie Vardy for a bit cheaper. Is going Kane to Ronaldo a good move? From Game Week 15 onwards, maybe, but I wouldn't be doing that now. I think Kane could outscore him in the next few if he can actually get his shooting boots on and not be a ghost, but yeah, I mean, Ronaldo plays City. Look, he's fixture-proof. I think he could do well against City, especially if they play like they did against Palace, but I wouldn't be doing that this week. Kane has a really good record against Everton. If he gets that form back, he's a really good option. Should I hold Kane in place for Tony? Already done the Chilwell move in place of Diaz. I'd still hold Kane. Obviously, I get the appeal of Tony, but I'd probably keep him. What do you think of Cornet and Mbumo or Tony? I like Cornet at the moment. I actually was talking about him before Game Week 10. I was really impressed by him in Game Week 9 and even before that. Obviously, if you're looking at underlying stats only, just bear in mind he hasn't really had too many minutes. So when you look at per 90 stats, they're a bit skewed. But Cornet is looking really impressive from the eye test. I really like him at the moment. And as for Tony or Mbumo, still Tony for me. What do you reckon? Should I sell Ronaldo? It's a tough one, you know. I wouldn't want Ronaldo too much over the next few, but I wouldn't be selling him. Okay, so Ninja says Ramsdale, Cancelo, Trent, James, Chilwell, Mount, Salah, Benrahma, Ings, Antonio and Tony, Woodman, Collins, Sarr, and Townsend. Got Tony and Trent in for next game week. I think Sarr is one of the players you can get rid of. Also Collins, and I'd say Ings. Especially if Ings is out with a hamstring injury, then obviously he's going to be out for a couple of weeks and I'd get rid of him. So those are the ones I'd be looking to get rid of. I'd keep the rest for now, although I'm not really too keen on having Benrahma and Antonio when they're facing Chelsea, City and Liverpool over the next 5 or 6. So Yeah, I like your defense. It's really good. Don't change that. I like your goalkeeper. Your midfield's looking good. You know, Mount and Salah. Benrahma's not too bad, but yeah. I'd keep Tony. I'd probably downgrade Antonio to Hwang, Ninja. And I'd move Danny Ings potentially if he's out. I'd be looking to get rid of him for... Oh, that's a difficult one. If Brock is fit, I'd definitely go for him. And yeah, you can do that. And then maybe upgrade Benrahma to Son. That's what you could start to do over the next 2 or 3. And then with Sarr, you can move him on to Smith Rowe. You can move him on to, if you back him, Saka. And yeah, other than that, maybe Gallagher. But still, obviously, Gallagher's had one really good performance. But still, the underlying stats aren't as impressive as they were before. But that's what I'd be doing with your team. Best Kane replacement. Well, if you're getting rid of him, I'd say Tony, maybe. Hwang Hee-chan. And also Broca if he's fit. I'm not really a big fan of the other options. I think Vardy's still a good choice, though. If you want a premium striker, go for him. Who do you think is the better option, Reece James or Chilwell? I still think Chilwell, but of course, Reece James, the finishes yesterday were insane. Real question, is Antonio Foden to start? I'd start Foden, to be honest, Cole. Tony captain for Game Week 11 at the moment. Yeah, fair enough. I'm seeing quite a lot of people doing that, to be fair. So, fair play. That could actually be really good. Is it time to move on Antonio? Holding on to Vardy till Game Week 11. Hwang is my third forward. I think so, potentially. And then get, for example, well, you've already got... Let's see. Time to move on, Tony. Hwang. Oh, yeah, you've already got Hwang. You can get Tony if you don't have him already, and Broca if he is fit ahead of Game Week 11. So that's what I'd be looking to do. And then you can get him back in a few weeks. Evening all, keeping Antonio, thinking should hold through the bad fixtures and just bench when needed. That's another alternative, and I talked about that before Game Week 10. There's 2 ways to go about it. You either keep him and you bench him for some of these tougher games, or you stick with him and, you know, just back West Ham and Antonio so much. And if not, just get rid of him and bring him back in a few game weeks' time. Should I sell Trent to Reece James? No. Trent is still a way better player. I would not do that. Is Adam Armstrong back in the team? Well, that's difficult to say because Broca wasn't fit for that game and he could be back very soon. So I wouldn't say he's necessarily back in the team and nailed, but he had a really encouraging performance. So Hasenhüttl has a bit of a headache there, I think. On 32 points with Semedo and Jimenez left. Yeah, mate, I mean, to be fair, you can still get more points than me with those 2 players and get 40 plus. That's not saying much, but, you know, you've got to look at the bright side, and next week could be much better. 1 week punt next game week, midfielder and striker. Okay. Let's look at the fixtures next week. So, I think Trossard could be one. We talked about him earlier against Newcastle if you want a midfielder. Who else is there? Strikers, maybe. I think Aubameyang against Watford could be really good as a punt, but maybe looking at someone else. Yeah, I'd probably look at those 2. Yeah, that's what I'd probably say. Let me know if anyone has any different ideas there, but that's what I'd probably go for. All right, let's get this team back on. It's an amazing team with 36 points. Let's see, I'm probably really far behind the chat, am I? Well, not too bad, but yeah. Should I swap Saka for Smith Rowe? I probably would. It gives you a bit more money, Royal. Yeah, I think they'll do similarly this season, but Smith Rowe's a bit more explosive. Chilwell, Son, Diaz, Curtis Jones, or Chilwell, Son, Walker, Mbeumo, Olise? Well, good question. Curtis Jones is a no for me in this game. But I do like those other players you're proposing there. So I'd go for Chilwell, Son, Diaz, Chilwell, and I'd just go for maybe a bench fodder option at 4.5. Is Vardy party over? He faces Leeds next, so I don't think so, to be honest. And he's got some good fixtures after Chelsea. What to do with Townsend? I'm looking to get rid of him in the coming weeks, but I'm not in a rush to. And I've already made another transfer. And but yeah, I think I will probably be getting rid of him soon. Of course, let's see how he plays tomorrow, and we can reevaluate then. I'm doing Gallagher to Son. Yeah, I still think that's the right move, despite Gallagher's really good performance. He's got some good fixtures coming up, but Son is a better asset, of course. Then again, you know, different price points. I'm done with these City defenders. So am I, Mohamed. And last season, yeah, guess what happened? I got in Diaz against West Brom, own goal. And then as soon as I get rid of him, clean sheet, maybe one blank, clean sheet. I get Chilwell in, he gets injured. So, you know what? I think defenders always seem to bite me whenever I get them in. But of course, you know, what I would recommend is patience with defenders. I haven't shown it, but to be honest, what I'm going to do now is just stop doing these defender transfers, stick to this defence. Really happy with it. You know, I've got the best budget defender in the game in Livramento. I've got 2 of the most explosive fullbacks in the game. Maybe, well, 3 of the most explosive, and Trent is nailed anyway. So I'm just going to keep it as it is, and I'd recommend you do the same. You know, don't change things too much. Maybe move one of those City defenders to Chelsea, and that's it. I've got Alba, Smith Rowe and Saka. I think that's a bit overboard, Leo, and I'm an Arsenal fan, unfortunately. And yeah, I think even 2 attackers, that'd make me cringe and my stomach churn. But 3 of them, that's a bit too much. Obviously, not too bad in the last few weeks. Arsenal have been good, but I'd probably be getting rid of one of them at least. Sarr, Antonio to Smith Rowe, Vardy -4. Yeah, I'd probably go for that. Yeah, I think that's a good hit, to be honest. Tielemans, still a good option, and he was one of the best players for Leicester against Arsenal. Bench Diaz over Livramento in the upcoming game week. I'm thinking of doing the same thing with Cancelo, and if I had Diaz in my team, I probably would have played Livramento over him. So yeah, I probably would be considering that. Worth taking a -8 to bring in Reece James, Chilwell and Zaha. It depends who you get rid of, Turkish, but I like those transfers you're bringing in. Zaha, not so much, but the 2 fullbacks definitely. Which 3 should I bench? Chilwell, James, Trent, Cancelo, Mbeumo, Son, Salah, Tony, Hwang, Broca, Diaz. Let me just refresh my memory with the fixtures, but I think Diaz is one of the players I'd be benching. Let's see the other ones. Let's get the fixtures side by side with the chat. Let's see. Let me try to get your comment back up. Okay, so Jet says this. Broca against Villa. That's not too bad if he's fit, of course. Hwang against Palace. Okay, that's tough. I'd definitely start James and Chilwell. Do not bench them. I wouldn't even bench Trent, to be honest, even if it is West Ham. Cancelo. Oh yeah, Salah and Son. Yeah, just start both of them. Don't bench them. Mbeumo, I'd start. Tony, I'd start. I'd pretty much be benching at least one of the City defenders, if not both of them. And the other one would be probably Broca. And if not, maybe... Well, I already said Cancelo, didn't I? Yeah, I'd say Diaz, Broca, and maybe Cancelo, and if not, bench Hwang. But yeah, definitely start the rest. King, Broca, or Hwang? I think Hwang, but if Broca's fit, definitely someone to keep an eye on. I'm still not really a big fan of King. I didn't notice before, you brought in James for Diaz. Yeah, I brought him in yesterday. And the plan is to either get points or jinx, so one of the 2 is going to work, you'd think. Yeah. Antonio to Vardy. I think that's a good move, to be honest. Yeah, if you're looking to go up, I think that's the one to go for the next 5-6 game weeks. Who to captain, Vardy or Salah? There's an argument to captain Vardy this week, but at the moment I've got on Salah. I might change my mind. I'm going to be looking at more stats and looking at more performances and highlights and all of that, and then finalising that decision. Hey mate, Spurs players, when to get them? Yeah, game week 12 onwards. You don't have to get them in right now, but against Everton, I think Son and Kane can do damage if they actually perform, and if Spurs play as an actual team. I was thinking of taking Vardy out after Leeds, maybe. Yeah, and put more money into the midfield for Son. That makes sense. And if not, you can be a bit patient with Vardy, and he's got some good fixtures coming up afterwards. But of course, if you want Son from game week 12 onwards, you have to sacrifice Vardy probably. Lowton delivers, yeah. What a header that was. I've done Diaz to James, so it's now Chilwell, Trent, Livramento, Duffy, James. Think it was a good move? Yeah, I think it is. Duffy's now the only kind of maybe weak link there. The rest is really strong there, Mohamed. Chilwell in for Rudiger for a hit? Not for me. Look, Chelsea defenders are different, or at least Chilwell and Reece James are different, because I don't think that's a sideways move, and it could be worth the hit even this week. But Rudiger's still playing. He can get bonus points and some attacking returns. So I probably wouldn't do that. And if anything, if I had Rudiger, I'd be looking to double up with him and one of the Chelsea fullbacks. Poll, might put a poll out very soon. Apparently Salah had 98.9% captaincy this week. Yeah, his effective ownership was nearly 200%. He was the most captain player of all time in FPL with over 4 million. Jesus Christ. I do hope you didn't jinx him. Love the double up on Chilwell plus James so far. Yeah, well, I wouldn't mind too much. I do want Chelsea to drop some points. Who do you think, guys, I should replace Mount with? I would not be replacing Mount. He could be fit for Game Week 11. If he isn't, fit, then, look to Foden, for example. But otherwise, keep Mount for sure. Azpilicueta not nailed anymore. It doesn't seem so at the moment, but we're going to find out a lot more during midweek in the Champions League. If Azpilicueta plays that, and Reece James is bench, for example, then maybe Azpilicueta is going to be missing out in Game Week 11 too. Tech says, what transfers would you suggest? Ramsdale, Rudiger, Trent, Christensen, Cancelo, Smith Rowe, Rafinha, Havertz, Salah, Jimenez, Vardy, Antonio, Livramento, Brownhill, Foster. Really good team, to be honest. You don't need to make a transfer. What I'd be looking to do, so your goalkeepers are fine, defence is looking good, but what you could do is move Christensen to one of the Chelsea fullbacks. They're looking too good at the moment, to be honest, to kind of ignore. Then looking at your midfield, I like it a lot. Even Havertz, I'd keep him this week. Don't get rid of him. Rafinha, let's see how he does against Leicester, maybe a week or so after. Jimenez, you could maybe get rid of, and Antonio. Antonio down to Tony makes sense for you, Tech, and you can start Tony instead of, let's say, Christensen maybe, and then you can make that Chelsea fullback move next week, but obviously they're probably going to be too expensive by then. I like Livramento, keep him. Brownhill's a fine 4.4 million option, but yeah, that looks good. I'd probably be looking to downgrade Antonio, possibly even Jimenez, or you could upgrade him to Vardy or something, but that's pretty good. Spurs worst team in the Premier League, I think Norwich, but Spurs are pretty much bottom three worst at the moment on current form, but in terms of actual quality, they're not that bad, I think. Aspie to James, yeah, I'd probably go for that at this moment in time. Just bear in mind, James isn't going to play every single game, but when he does, he can do what he did yesterday. Tony or Hwang Hee-chan? Tony, because of the fixtures. Thoughts on Son plus Kane double up from Game Week 12 onwards? It still could be a really good differential, but because I haven't seen enough from Spurs, they were so poor yesterday, I probably would just stick with one. Even then, you don't have to go with any of them. Can you explain what is effective ownership? So effective ownership... the main thing about effective ownership is the rank. It severely affects your rank. So let's say, for example, Salah yesterday had 200% nearly effective ownership. So if you didn't captain him and Salah did really well, your rank would tumble so quickly. But on the other hand, if you captained him but he blanks or didn't do too well, your rank isn't actually affected too much, even if, for example, all the other popular captaincy choices do really well. Effective ownership takes that into account, and it basically is a nice way of calculating how a player's points will affect your rank. So that's pretty much it. And there's also the thing of effective points, and that plays into effective ownership percentages. Antonio CR7 to Vardy. Oh, that's a tough one. Probably CR7, but just bear in mind you probably want to get him back in around game week 13 or 15. You could arguably just get rid of Antonio. Ronaldo is fixture proof. Bernardo Silva, a good shout. He still is. Wasn't too impressive yesterday against Palace, but then again, not many were. I would rather have Foden, to be honest, Jay. Cancelo to Rudiger, or do you think City defenders can keep a clean sheet against United? I think they can. They did last season. I still keep Cancelo, to be honest, and you can double up with Rudiger and one of the Chelsea fullbacks. You don't have to get rid of him. James Chua or Cancelo? Oh, God. I kept saying Cancelo over the last few weeks, but, it's just so hard to argue. I saw a stat which was absolutely ridiculous. Over the last 4 game weeks, I think James and Chilwell combined for over 80 points, I think, and Cancelo and Diaz for like 13. Absolutely unbelievable. But then you look at the previous 4 game weeks prior to that, and it was the other way around. So it's a tough one. I still like Cancelo a lot, but at this moment in time, I have to say Chilwell. Is it worth swapping Rafinha to Son instead of Gallagher to Son to afford Diaz to Trent? Possibly, Luke, but I would still recommend one City defender. They still have one of the best defences in the world. And I'm just so surprised that Chelsea keeps so many clean sheets. Looking at the underlying stats, and only 3 goals conceded, they're definitely eyeing up that 15-goal conceded record. And I think, at the moment, they're definitely looking like the favourites to win the league. Ramsdale close to another price increase, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I don't think it affects me too much. I got him in around 4.6, but... that's obviously good news. Newcastle worst team. Oh yeah, I'd say Norwich, Newcastle, and Spurs are the 3 worst at the moment. Leeds are also very close. You could say very lucky today. Very good, 15 minutes where 3 goals were scored today. I'm so dissatisfied. Mount didn't even play, and I just transferred them in. Yeah, that's why sometimes when you bring in a player who just did well, it can always come back to bite you. It can happen to me with Reece James. Sometimes that's how it is, and footballers are human, and sometimes they do get ill or get injured. Your points total doesn't reflect the quality of your team, Dylan. Stay patient and you should get the rewards. Thank you, Eduardinho. Always with the positive comments, and you might have a point, but then again, patience. I literally just brought in Reece James, so I don't think I'm the right person to say that to, but yeah, I'm still happy with this team, and to be honest, if injuries happen, oh well. Vardy, Antonio replacement. I would not get rid of Vardy this week. As for Antonio, I'd say Tony or Hwang Hee-chan, and Broca, of course, if he's fit. Once again, Adrej, I'd say Chilwell out of the 3. Who would you choose between Kane and Son? Still Son for me. Kane has been absolutely awful, to be honest. When will Chilwell's price go up? I'd say, I'm not sure exactly when, but before the Game Week 11 deadline. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't go up again. Would you bring in Smith Rowe or Gallagher? Well, in current form, you'd have to say Smith Rowe, but... I don't know, over the season, I still think Gallagher's been the better one. It's a tough one. I'm trying to think, what would I do for my own team? If I was bringing in one of them, I'd probably go for Smith Rowe. But I'm not sure, to be honest, because I think earlier I even said Gallagher. It's a tough one. It's a 50-50. I'd have to think about it a lot. I'd be checking the stats religiously to then make a final decision. Any replacements for Mbeumo or Townsend? Do not get rid of Mbeumo ahead of Norwich. Don't do that. It's going to be another Rafinha case, potentially. As for Townsend, maybe Smith Rowe. He's looking really good. You know, I wasn't really too impressed or not really buying into the hype, but he's been doing so well. When is the next international break? It's literally in 2 weeks, isn't it? It's in November, and then there's another one, I think actually in January, or at least the World Cup qualifiers for South America. There's some in January, last time I checked. Also the African Cup of Nations, and then it's March, which is typically a international break month. Start Sanchez or Ramsdale? Ramsdale for me. I'm not making that same mistake again. Do I need one free transfer? Aspi, Rudiger, Diaz, Salah, Rafinha, Foden, Mbeumo, Vardy, Tony, Antonio, Foster, Livramento, White, Gallagher. You don't need to. You can easily bench Antonio for White, for example, or even start Livramento or Gallagher. You don't need to make a transfer, but you could maybe move Antonio down to Hwang or maybe upgrade him. But then again, you already have Vardy, so I probably wouldn't do that. What I'd be looking to do in your case, Eddie, is finding a way to get Son in the coming weeks if you still back Spurs and Heung-min Son. I don't back Spurs, but Son is a quality player and still one of the best assets in my opinion. And Aspi, I'd say to, for example, well, you don't have Trent. And that's another thing I'd probably pick out in your team. So you could move Antonio down to Hwang, for example, move Aspi up to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and maybe Diaz either to Cancelo or one of the Chelsea fullbacks, and I think you're good to go there, and then start to look to get one of those midfielders like Son. Vardy and Townsend out for Wood and Son in Game Week 12. What do you think? Look, Wood was obviously very good finish in Game Week 10, but I wouldn't do Vardy to Wood personally. I'd still rather have Hwang or Tony or also Broca. But of course, if Burnley start to attack that way consistently, then yeah, he's looking like a really good option. From Burnley, I'd rather have Cornet, but the Son move is really good. Rudiger to James, worth it? It might be, but I'd still would keep Rudiger, to be honest, at this moment in time. Triple captain Tony? No. I'm sticking the triple captaincy personally with Salah, probably during a double game week or when he faces Norwich at home. Smith Rowe and Mbeumo, probably Smith Rowe at this moment in time, but do not get rid of Mbeumo. Smith Rowe and Mbeumo or Saka, probably Smith Rowe and then Mbeumo. How exactly does player price rise and player sells work? So price rises, they're determined pretty much, I think, by the amount of transfers in and how the ownership changes pretty much from week to week, or at least from when the game started. So that's how it's calculated. But sometimes, and people do think this, there are manual changes from FPL headquarters. So sometimes a player isn't actually anywhere near 100% or predicted to rise, yet they still do. And as for price... wait, let me try to get the question up again. My bad. What happened to this? Jesus Christ. Yeah, player sells. So the player sell price is different to the player purchase price and also just, the overall value of a player. So let's say, for example, I brought in Chilwell at 5.7 million. So if he goes up to 5.8, I can't actually sell him for 5.8. I have to wait for him to go up by another 0.1. So in essence, he has to go up by 0.2 million in order for his sell value to go up by 0.1. And then when he goes up to 5.9, after I got him in at 5.7, I can then sell him for 5.8. So hopefully you get that. Son or Foden? I still think long-term Son, but right now Foden's looking really good, to be fair. Will Gallagher come on if a first bench player didn't play? Oh yeah, he should do. Yeah, unless you have a invalid formation. Cancelo or Chilwell? At the moment, Chilwell, to be honest. I have 53 points, and after Hwang and Gray, unfortunately, I have 20 points on the bench. Armstrong, Livramento, and Ramsdale. Yeah, it is what it is, to be honest. Yeah, 20 points on the bench. I mean, yeah, I've got 16 myself. I can relate a bit. What do you think of Wilson to bring in from 12 to 15? He has very good stats, but Newcastle's performance is a bit annoying. That's the thing about Wilson. He's injury prone and Newcastle are so unreliable, but he is a good option, but I probably won't be going there myself. Sudindra says, I'm planning to maybe give Antonio another game week against Liverpool because West Ham are playing well and I feel he can score. Yeah, he could. And he has a really good goal involvement ratio despite not getting a goal or assist today, and he was robbed a little bit, I think. Should I sell Kane? I'd keep him. Do you play FIFA? I do. Not often. I haven't played it recently, but I do. Is Son for Mount worthy? I wouldn't do it this week. I'd probably do that ahead of Game Week 12. Denny will come on, or at least one outfield player didn't play. Yeah, exactly. 48 points of Rafinha, bonus to come with Jimenez to come. Thoughts? Yeah, so 50 points and Jimenez to play. That's looking pretty good. Thank you, Aiden. Mbuma and Antonio out for Tony and Gallagher. Rafinha in. I would not be getting rid of Mbuma this week. Antonio, yes, that makes sense. Just do Antonio to Tony in your case. Check live FPL if you want to make sure to see your actual point count. Yeah, exactly. That's what I did to have the rank on your left-hand side. Thoughts on Cucurella plus KDB to Son and Trent? I'd definitely do that, mate. Definitely, 100%. Diaz or Cancelo, who to bench? I'd probably bench Diaz because the attacking potential isn't as strong as Cancelo, but if Diaz scores a header or Cancelo's benched, then of course, that's the thing that can happen sometimes, but I'd start Cancelo. Foden unlucky this week, not getting the assist for Jesus. Hairline offside. Antonio assisted the assister twice tonight. Yeah, it's that kind of week, to be honest, and you have to take it sometimes. Looking to hold a transfer, would you start Cancelo, Sarr or Rafinha? I would probably start Rafinha in your case, mate. I have rank 56. Can I win FPL? Of course. Even if you were, a few hundreds, in the hundreds or the thousands or the 100,000s, you can still win it. But of course, it gets harder and harder the further away you are and as time goes on. But you definitely can, to be honest. Mohammed says, Big Man Bakar posted a list of teams that considered the most chances from the left side, and Leicester was first with 47. Yeah, Rafinha. Think I should hold Rafinha with that being his next game? Yeah, exactly. I'd hold him for that reason, and also just in general, not about the flanks and the positional sense, which is also very important, but Leicester in general, their defensive stats for the season are average. If anything, they're terrible, so I think you should keep Rafinha. But what I would say about Rafinha, he doesn't get too many double-digit returns, and he hasn't really been living up to the hype. Hi Dylan, I am late. Am I late? Well, we've only been going on for 40 minutes. Well, actually, no, we've been going for an hour, actually. Yeah, I forgot I did it at 6:30. Edison, transfer out. I'd just rather have a cheap keeper like Ramsdale. So if you don't have any other transfers to make, Jay, I probably would get Ramsdale in. Currently got Chilwell, Trent, Cancelo, Livramento, Duffy. Should I change Duffy to James? Yes, I would, Chris. Definitely. I'd do that. Trent, Diaz, Cancelo, Semedo, Livramento with 0.2 million in the bank. Who should I get? Yeah, I think Semedo is the one to get rid of. What I would do in your situation is do Diaz to James or Chilwell, and you can move Semedo on to maybe Ben White, for example. Would you transfer in Foden this week or wait a few weeks for the fixtures to turn? It depends who you get rid of and what your other plans are. But if you don't have Son, maybe just look to get him in instead at this point. But yeah, I think you can get Foden in now. He could do well against United. Bonus points are in. Yes, they are. Let's refresh the page then. So here we go. Yay. 40 points with a -4, so 36. Amazing. And 16 points on my bench. That literally could have turned my week as well. Would it be justified to go Rafinha to Smith Rowe? Maybe, but not now. I wouldn't do it this week. Thoughts on Kane and Aubameyang? Aubameyang's doing all right, especially at home, but he's not really doing it on the road. As for Kane, he's not doing it anywhere, to be honest, only against Newcastle, and I'd rather have Son. 268 people watching. Hit the like button. Dylan's a great FPL content creator. Thank you very much, Sudindra. And 268 people. Wow. Thank you so much. As he says, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. It really helps out the channel. And we just hit 7,000 subscribers. We're looking to get to 10,000, but obviously one step at a time. 8,000 is the next target, and then we'll push on after that. Lukaku to Rodrigo. Is it worthy? Obviously, Rodrigo has been scoring goals recently for Leeds, but I still probably wouldn't go there. If Aspie receivers and James on the bench, will you swap James again and for whom? Wait, why did I say receivers? Recovers. Ooh. No, I would not get rid of James at this point. Corner, differential pick, definitely. I was talking about him even before Game Week 10. A few viewers did as well. They brought him to my attention and yeah, just very impressive in Game Weeks 9, 10 and even before that. Can I bring both Salah and Mane? Yeah, you can, of course. But I probably wouldn't. I'd rather have just Salah and that's it. As an Arsenal fan, do you think we can come fourth? It's possible, but it's not going to happen, I think. Arsenal will probably finish between 5th and 8th. Again, I'm not going to buy into the hype. And also, Manchester United, they have a better team on paper. They should be finishing 4th at least. So, and the top 3, they're just on another level to the rest of the league. So, not for me. And even West Ham, they're arguably better than Arsenal. And yeah, Spurs, to be fair, are awful at the moment. But yeah, I'd probably say those teams are better. Rafinha for Benrahma. Once again, I wouldn't do that this week. And Benrahma plays Liverpool, so not for me. Alexander-Arnold, Robertson or Reece James? Alexander-Arnold for me. Should I hold Rafinha? And if not, should I bring him in for? I'd hold Rafinha this week, Mohamed. I'm a bit disappointed by double-seated defenders. Should I transfer one out? I have Trent and James. Well, that's what I did. I transferred out Diaz for Reece James. You could maybe get Chilwell in, for example, but you don't have to. And City now have the good fixtures coming up after Manchester United. Midfielder under 8.2. Grealish or Foden or Zaha or Jota? Foden. Is this worth a -4? Christensen to Reece James and Townsend to Saka? I think it's worth it, but I'd rather have Smith Rowe over Saka. Yeah, thank you, Rodmack, for the shout out. Much appreciated. How do bonus points work in FPL? There's actually a bonus point system, Mender. So let me actually show you on the FPL website where it does show you. So if you go to the FPL website, you check the fixtures, and you see the games that have just gone by, you can click on any of them. So let's click, for example, on Chelsea against Newcastle. So you go, goals scored, assists, yellow cards, and then we get the bonus point system. So there in brackets you can see the numbers. Whoever gets the highest points, obviously the top three, they will end up getting the bonus points. So Reece James got 63, by far the man of the match. He got 3 bonus points. Jorginho and Chilwell both got 29, so they both shared 2. And in some instances, there can be more than 3 players getting bonus points. There could be multiple players tied for 1, 2, and 3 respectively. But that's how the bonus point system works. They are determined by different factors. The goals scored. If you're a defender and you score, you have a much higher chance of getting 3 bonus points, especially if you get the clean sheet also. Even the tackles you make, the amount of passes, the pass completion, all these different aspects play a part in you getting that. And of course, assists and all of these other different components. So hopefully that answers your question. And there we go. Once again, amazing game week, isn't it? Fantastic. Let's actually just look forward. I don't want to see that game week again. Is Gallagher due a price rise? I think so, especially with the fixtures turning now. Would you definitely get rid of Antonio this week if you have no priority transfers? Well, I've already made one, so I'm not going to be doing it. But if I hadn't have got Reece James for Diaz, then I would consider it. I'd maybe do, for example, Antonio to Broca if he's fit, or if not, Hwang Hee-chan, and then that will give me enough money to get Son in the midfield. All the best forwards are blanking, yeah, except Ronaldo technically. But yeah, that's the thing. The forwards aren't really offering too much consistency at the moment. Force an Aubameyang captain could be a really good differential, but to be honest, yeah, I wouldn't go there, to be honest. I'd rather have Vardy as my captain or one of the Chelsea fullbacks, but he is a good option, and I think he can do well against Watford. Thank you, Sidinja. Cheers for tuning in. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow as well. Is it a Salah captaincy again this week? Not necessarily. I think this could be the week to go different. Then again, we all said that ahead of the United game, didn't we? But West Ham's a tough fixture, but Salah does well against the Hammers. And I think a few seasons ago, he did really well. And a lot of people triple captained him. Some price rises are quite annoying. So many people bring in Cornet when he's about to play Chelsea. Just wait a bit. Yeah, but some people, I mean, to be fair, I'm probably one of them, bringing in Reece James and Chilwell respectively very early on. But they just see last week's points and they just bring people in, to be honest. I have 2 transfers this week. Is it worthy changing Grealish to Foden and Cancelo to Livramento? Grealish to Foden, yes, but not Cancelo to Livramento. Livramento is doing better at the moment, and I would recommend getting him into your team, but not at the expense of Cancelo, unless you're taking money out of your defence and now you finally have a budget defender. But otherwise, definitely don't do that. Fred says, my team is Ramsdale, Foster, Trent, Chilwell, James, Livramento, Son, Salah, Cornet, Armstrong, Antonio, Vardy, Allen, Brownhill, and Foster. Who should I bench? Antonio, start Livramento. I'm considering it myself. I might start Livramento over Antonio. As for the rest, to be fair, I'd probably bench Cornet from your team and I'd start Antonio. I think West Ham could do alright against Liverpool. 63 points with Hwang left. Big green arrow from 481k to 227k thanks to Reece James. Fair play, mate. And that's exactly it. If you have one player like that who does really well and then the other kind of highly owned assets don't do the business, then yeah, you can get these green arrows. I forgot what a green arrow looks like at this point. City defenders are not worth keeping at all. No clean sheet since game week 8. Yeah, but to be fair, that's only 2 game weeks. You can't expect them to do it every single week. And they have been facing some decent teams, but I think double City defence is just not looking good at the moment, but the fixtures are turning soon. Vardy to Jimenez or Wilson. Or maybe Ollie Watkins. They're all good options, but guess what, Hassan? I'd probably just keep Vardy. He's facing Leeds next, so keep him for now. And then afterwards, you can get... From those 3 you mention, it's a tough one. I'd probably just rather get Tony or Hwang, to be honest. But if you're picking one of those 3, maybe Jimenez, but the fixtures aren't too good. The other two could be promising. Best 5.5 to 6 million midfielders, Smith Rowe, Gallagher. I used to say Gray and Townsend, but I need to see more from them. Let's see how they do tomorrow. I wish Salah wasn't so good, says Josh. Yeah, it would open up the game a bit more, wouldn't it? And there'd be different captaincy options, and it'd be very interesting. Force on Saka to Smith Rowe. Is there any point? I think so. It gives you a bit more money in your bank, and Smith Rowe is more explosive, so I think so. Best two midfielders to bring in under 6 million, Smith Rowe and Gallagher at the moment, but there are different choices, of course. Is James nailed now? Not completely, to be honest, Alfie, but should play more often than not. Captain Tony or Mbumo? I'd captain Tony. Game Week 13 question. Wow, that's looking really far ahead. Tony plus Mbumo out, Hwang, Smith Rowe in? No, because Hwang's fixtures turn from Game Week 14 onwards. But Mbumo to Smith Rowe, I'd definitely recommend that. Is having two strikers viable? Yes, it is. At the moment, the strikers aren't doing the business, and as soon as I switched from a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3 on my wildcard again, the strikers have been poor. Cornet or Rafinha? This week, definitely Rafinha, but looking forwards, maybe Cornet could be the one. But just wait a bit, I'd say. Do not make that move this week. You know, Cornet does face Chelsea, and Rafinha could do really well against Leicester. Thanks for answering all these questions from us. You definitely get a subscription from me. Thank you very much, Fred. I try my best, and I have missed some, unfortunately, earlier on. Rafinha to Son by downgrading Diaz, and Antonio or downgrade Vardy for Rafinha to Son. Good question. I probably would say, assuming you have a good defense already, Singh, I would probably downgrade Diaz and Antonio at this point in time. This is one of my worst game weeks. It's my worst game week of the season so far, I believe. It happens sometimes. Dylan, I have the money for another big defender right now. I have Tierney against Watford, Rudiger and Cancelo, Livramento and Williams. I'd definitely move Tierney on to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I'd move Williams on if you have enough money to either Chilwell or Reece James. Why people think Aspie is already the right centre-back and age 33 or whatever would take the place of maybe one of the best right wingers on the system, I just don't get it. Well, to be fair, this season Azpilicueta was playing the majority of the games, so that's why people would think it. And also, Azpilicueta has gotten the most points since Tuchel's taken over for any Chelsea player, and he's played the most games, and he's their captain, so it does make sense. Cornet is the best 6 million midfielder. Good fixtures coming up. That's true. Cornet. I did forget about him. My bad. Thoughts on Diaz to Trent and Jimenez to Tony for funds? I'd do that, Tarquin. I'd do it. I was thinking of bringing Son this week, but the form Spurs are in is putting me off. I'd wait another week, Sabir, and then get him in ahead of Game Week 12 potentially. Dylan, basically my team right now. Yeah, hopefully we do well. Otherwise, we're both in the mud together. Well, maybe not the right statement to say. I'm top 170k and I'm Zimbabwean. Thank you. Well, not thank you, Elliot, but well played, Elliot. And you can aim for much more, to be honest. Ronaldo from Game Week 12 or 15? 15. And either way, I think 13 is when they have Watford, but I'd say Game Week 15. Start 1, White, Livramento, Cancelo, Armstrong. I would start... It's a tough one. Probably White, but if you have Ramsdale already, maybe just go for Livramento or Cancelo. Rafinha and Townsend down to ESR and Mbumo for free. This will fund the Aspie to Trent move in Game Week 12 thoughts. What I would do in your situation, Akshay, is Townsend to Mbumo, save the transfer, and then going into the next week, get those other two players in, because Rafinha could do really well this week against Leicester. Should I transfer in Chilwell right now as he's going to rise today? If you're completely settled on him and you have a good team overall and you don't want to make other transfers, I'd go for it. Gaeta or Alvaro Fernandez? It's a tough one. If it was Raya, I'd definitely go for him. But of course, one game for Fernandez and 3 goals conceded. It's not looking too good. I'd still say Fernandez, but I might change my mind, to be honest, and say Gaeta in the coming weeks. I need to see a bit more consistency in terms of clean sheets from Palace. Is James and Chilwell a good double up? I think so. But just bear in mind, they're both rotation risks, just like any Chelsea player. I agree, Elliot. I wouldn't do it either. Nice stream. Thank you, Eskill. Really appreciate it. Went to top 40k after dropping from 177k last week because I didn't captain Salah. Exactly. 1 week can completely change things around. That's what I'm hoping for ahead of Game Week 11. Any good midfielders below 6.5 except Cornet, Smith Rowe or Gallagher? Bowen seems like a good 6 million shout. Yeah, he does. But the fixtures are really tough, so I don't think it's the right time to get him in. Crystal Palace fixtures looking good. Bring in Gallagher. He's the only Palace player I'd consider at the moment, but when Michael Elise becomes a starter, he's definitely one to look at. Son and Mbumo or Foden and Mount long term? Good question. As much as I like Foden a lot, It's a tough one, you know. It's a really tough one. As a duo, to be honest, I prefer Foden and Mount, if I'm being completely honest. We're on the same number of points, Dylan. It's on. Yeah, but unfortunately, you know, too many red arrows and too many bad weeks. Would you move Aspi to Chilwell, or have we missed the Chelsea defence points? I'd probably still do it, to be honest. And he's just explosive. They're all kind of rotation risks. Rudiger's maybe the least likely, so I'd probably just do it. Watch James get rested next round. Yeah, I'm hoping for that, John, because I either get points or I jinx him. Captain Salah or Tony? I still prefer Salah of the two, but I might change the captaincy to Vardy or one of the Chelsea fullbacks. I got 40 points, so did I, but technically 36. Yeah, it sucks sometimes. Any replacements for Mbeumo or Townsend? Manda, I would not get rid of Mbeumo. As for Townsend, yes, you can get Cornet out of Game Week 12, or you can get Smith Rowe or Gallagher. Do not get rid of Mbeumo this week. What to do with Jota? Maybe move him on to Mount, Foden, or Havertz. I'd definitely get Foden if you don't have him already. Aspley played there just because James was sent off and then injured. His position is nailed and the back three, if anything. He's just a backup option, James, when he's fit. Yeah, as a right wing back, James is the best option, but Aspilicueta can play centre back and right wing back, so that's why a lot of people will appeal to him, including myself. Do you think Foden is worth keeping? I think so. He was really good in Game Week 10. Don't just look at points. Is there any reason to keep Aspie? Any reason? Maybe he's going to start in Game Week 11 and maybe one of the fullbacks that you bring in are benched. That's the only reason at the moment. But to be honest, I'd probably just get rid of him. But then again, things can change quickly. A few weeks ago, I was talking about Aspilicueta and Rudiger being the two most nailed and best Chelsea defenders to own. And there we go. Sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes you get it right. This is the first time I found this channel. It's just a weird coincidence. Thank you, Cole. Yeah, sometimes you're just browsing, you see this guy and like, oh, this guy's an idiot. Let's laugh at him. Gallagher for Benrahma. I would not be getting rid of Gallagher, and yeah, especially Benrahma plays West Ham. He plays Liverpool, Chelsea, and City. No, City. Yeah, and City very soon. I'm getting confused because of the Carabao. Do you know when CR7 will rise in price? Want to bring him in as a captain for Watford after Game Week City game? Probably ahead of Game Week 13 when they play Watford. That's when I think he'll go up in price. Game Week over 61 points. Really impressive, mate. That's fantastic. Mbeumo against Norwich. Should I hold or go for Smith Rowe? Hold. Definitely hold for me. I'm on 41 points with Jimenez to play and Gallagher to come off the bench. Yeah, that's not too bad. Gallagher coming off the bench. Yep, that's a pretty decent week overall. Already on a -4. Sal Rudiger and get Chilwell for -8. No, not for me. Jimenez to Tony, Semedo to James Chilwell for a -4. Yes, I'd do that. Yeah, I'd do it. If Rafinha can't double digit against Norwich when other players are, how useful is he long term, or is that unfair judgment? To be fair, he was just 1 point off and he was on for maximum bonus points ever since he scored the goal up until the very end. What I would say about Rafinha though is that he is definitely dispensable, and I'd assess him against Leicester and maybe another game week or two and then get rid. I might just get rid of him after Leicester, but I already made my transfer. I'm happy to keep him for now, but yeah, against Norwich anyone can do well, that's the point, so I'm not really that, I don't suddenly think Rafinha's amazing now. Sanchez or Ramsdale for me. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. Thank you to Flying Dutchman. Any reason you know why they didn't play Matip, Chalobah? No, with Chalobah it's just Chelsea defence, and if you look at Chelsea's best back line, it's Reece James as a right wing back or Aspilicueta, and then the centre backs are Thiago Silva, Christensen and Rudiger, if not Aspilicueta, and then Chilwell as the left wing back. So that's the reason why Chalobah isn't completely nailed. That's why I don't like him as an asset, and I was talking about this in previous weeks. Matip the same thing, he's not nailed and he's injury prone, so just not for me. I'd rather have Trent and that's it. Benrahma also gets subbed early now. Yeah, he got subbed off around the 60th minute mark, didn't he? But still a good option. I just wouldn't bring him in. How's Aubameyang for a short-time punt? He's a decent one. I think he can do really well against Watford. He may even feature in my preview for the best free hit team for Game Week 11. So I think he could be decent, but I'm probably not going to be going there myself. Say Maximan to Tony, worth it for the long term? I think so. But obviously just be very patient with Tony. He just hasn't been doing it recently. Antonio to Hwang for a -4. Not for a hit. Not for a hit. Diaz and Sarr out for Trent and Gallagher -4. Tough decisions. I'd probably go ahead with it, Sophie, but you don't have to. Son or Kane after the international break? Well, as things stand, it's Son, and then it's the same thing as before. Have you watched June? I have. I watched it last Wednesday, I believe. Planning to keep Antonio. Also, plans on bringing in Kane or Son. For the time being, yes, with Antonio, but I am also open to the idea of selling him and then bringing him back in ahead of game week 16 or 18. As for Son or Kane, I'm probably going to be getting in Son, and that will require downgrading either Vardy or someone else. Maybe one of my defenders, for example, but to be honest, I probably won't be doing that. And then upgrading either Foden or Rafinha, maybe even Townsend. Let's see. Rafinha will be on fire if Bamford comes back to convert, but got to get rid before game week 15. Yeah, the fixtures are really poor from game week 15, 16 onwards. So I agree with that. And hopefully Bamford's back soon. He's very important to Leeds. Tielemans looks like an asset this season. He does. He's been decent in seasons gone by, but I think this season he's more explosive and he's more of a talisman for Leicester. Leeds look like a one-man team. Rafinha ain't going to keep it going, just a feeling. Well, to be fair, he's been very inconsistent. He's always an injury doubt as well, it seems. He's not a must-have for sure. How's Aubameyang? Yeah, as I said before, Hasib, he's a good short-term punt. Tielemans or Rafinha? That's a tough one. Based on what we've seen this season, I'd have to say Tielemans, but I probably wouldn't get rid of Rafinha. No problem, Ninja. I don't mind having James, to be honest, because A, I have a good bench, and B, if he cameos for 1 point, it's fine because he then gets the double-digit haul and propels himself back up. Let's actually look at Reece James's points, and this is why I didn't get him in before game week 8 or when I wildcarded. So 18 points against Arsenal, but then comes off the bench twice. Then I think he got suspended against Liverpool. Then came off the bench against City, and then once again came off the bench for 1 minute against Brentford. And then after that, 2 starts, and look at that. It's absolutely incredible. 13 and 21 points, so 3 starts, 3 double-digit returns. He's a monster this season. So, yeah, as you say, it's worth the wait and worth the 1 point. Well, I say that. He'll probably get 1 point for me next week and block a Livramento masterclass. Should I jump off Tielemans? Got 10 points last week, but definitely not keeping it up. I would not get rid of him ahead of Leeds, though. So maybe get rid of him ahead of Chelsea. Was Vardy good this week? He had one chance, I guess, but I think he was really anonymous against Arsenal. He was making a few good runs in behind, but yeah, he was dealt with pretty easily by White and Gabriel. I think Watkins is going to be a dark horse. Yep, he is also looking good. Ings when he's back fit or when he's not ill, whatever happened to him. But yeah, Watkins is pretty decent. What about Ronaldo? I'm looking to get him in ahead of game week 13 or 15, so I have a decision to make. I'm either going to get Son in midfield, or maybe just wait for that, forget about it, and then upgrade Vardy to Ronaldo up, around game week 15. I'm thinking of Chelsea triple defence. What's your opinion? And thank you for your suggestions on Rafinha for game week 10. Worked out well. No problem, mate. I was just giving my opinion. I could have been wrong. As for triple Chelsea defence, obviously they're the best defence in the league at the moment, and I think a double is fine, and I would go for that. A triple, I probably wouldn't go there. I'd rather have Trent, 2 Chelsea defenders, maybe Rudiger, and or Reece James and Chilwell. And then I'd still go for Cancelo and Livramento. That is my ideal back 5. I'm happy with that. But there's nothing wrong with it, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with triple Chelsea defence, but I'd just go for 2, to be honest. Watkins is a great option if Ings is out. He's a bagsman. Yeah, maybe. It's a tough one, though. I think they were combining well when Watkins first came into the team, but maybe you have a point there. What's your transfer plan for next week? And are you a part-time YouTuber or full-time YouTuber? YouTube is just a hobby for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy making content and talking to you lot. And as for my transfer plan, I've already made a transfer. I moved Diaz on for Reece James. Very reactionary. Yeah, I agree. The Flying Dutchman, Leicester were really off it. Took a -4 to get James this week. Yeah, welcome to the club, Michael. Didn't take a hit, but I did get him in. Why Douglas Luiz didn't play, not even on the bench? Well, Dean Smith was talking about certain players having COVID, so it could be Douglas Luiz and Ings, so that could be it. As for Ings, though, there are rumours that he has a hamstring injury, so let's wait and see. Should I put Rafinha or Antonio first on the bench? Probably Rafinha, but Antonio can do well against Liverpool, in my opinion. Damn, it's already 8. Time is flying at the moment. I have him in there. Should I replace him for Hwang? I think it could be a good option because it enables you to have more money in the bank to get a Son or a Ronaldo in future weeks, etc. So I think it could be worth it. Douglas Luiz, COVID issue, Dean Smith seemed to suggest. Yeah, exactly, Darren. Forward options seem limited with Bamford and DCL not available. Yep, and also Lukaku being injured and also Ronaldo having tough fixtures, but hopefully they start giving us more headaches. Let's see. Having Laporte and Havertz, who should I transfer them for? I'd get rid of Laporte for, if you can afford it, Chilwell or Reece James, and if not, Cancelo's a good option to cover City, and Trent, of course. And if you don't have Livramento already, get him in. I'd definitely recommend one of those defenders. I still like Rudiger though. Rudiger's a good choice. Would you still be keen on Son despite Spurs' performance? Yes, but not. I'm not literally in a rush to get him in, to be honest, despite the good fixtures coming soon. My team is good for next week. Do I take the opportunity to get rid of Sarr, Wolves goalkeeper? Maybe. If you don't have Ramsdale already, make that change. Or if not, just get Foster as your second keeper. Depends on how many keepers you have that are playable. What do you think of Cucurella? Still a good option, but I'd still rather go for one of their cheaper defenders. And also Livramento, around 4.45 million. I'd rather go for him. Then there's Rudiger, James, Chilwell, Cancelo. Diaz is still a good choice. Trent, yeah, I'd just rather have them, to be honest. And also Janssen, Pinnock, Henry, they could be better. But Cucurella's a good option, no doubt about it. Salah didn't get the ball. New strategy for all teams. Potentially, but obviously it's always going to happen. Salah can't keep this up. He's not going to be scoring and assisting every single game. The blanks will come. Livramento reminds me of Lundstrom. Yeah, that's a really good comparison. I mean, very similar kit as well. Looking at United's fixtures, 14 to 27, I just can't see Ronaldo not being a good option. Exactly. Yeah, even against Arsenal in Game Week 14, you have a point. He could do really well, but, I'm just going to try have enough money in the bank to get Ronaldo or Bruno in, but probably Ronaldo is going to be the one coming into my side. Hi Dylan, I still have Hwang to go tomorrow. Should I keep Kane or change him for Ronaldo or get James Chilwell for Aspie? I'd get James or Chilwell for Aspie. I still prefer Chilwell. When do we get Wildcard 2? In the second half of the season, so around Game Week 19, I believe, or Game Week 18, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, one of those game weeks you get the second wildcard. Sell Duffy for Trent if I have the money. Do you think Robertson's a good differential? I just get Trent, to be honest. I think he's a better asset. How do you feel about Hwang Hee-chan? One of the best options around his price. Just bear in mind the underlying stats are undersustainable, and 4 goals from 7 shots is not really something that's going to keep on giving. I have Rudiger, selling for James. I'd keep Rudiger, to be honest, and if anything, add to it. Yeah, really good point by Gina. Johnson at 3.9 million, the next Livramento. Moyes likes him, so could keep his place. Yeah, I mean, well, unfortunately, he had this stat where he played 6 games, or started 6 games, and got 6 clean sheets. Today, considered his first goal to Watkins, but yeah, really good point you make there. And if you're looking for a 3.9 million defender, soon to be 4, probably after tonight, Johnson's the one to go for. Really good suggestion, mate. Rudiger to Reece James, I wouldn't go for it, but Reece James is looking really good at the moment. Today, Antonio did some great key passes, but now turned into assists. Yeah, and I think he got slightly robbed, to be honest, unfortunately. I did Diaz to Reece James as well, had to be done. Yeah, Mohamed, I mean, sometimes this is the thing. Maybe this is a kind of a fault of mine. I want to see something first from a player, especially a bit of consistency before I bring them in. Now just watch Diaz get the points, get those clean sheets, and Chelsea are now going to start conceding. Don't be surprised. No need to write in all caps, people. Won't make Dylan read your comments any quicker. Exactly, Fran Dutchman. Thank you very much. Son did good against Man United. No luck. Hit the target, I guess, twice or more. Well, he had a really good chance, but he didn't hit the target. Spurs actually didn't have a single shot on target. And that was the first time since December 2013 when they lost 5-0 to Liverpool. And it's no wonder Nuno Espirito Santo might be getting sacked as we speak. Maybe smacked as well. Mane seems like a fantastic differential, but it's hard to justify the entire 2 million over Son Vardy. Exactly, mate. Mane's looking really good at the moment. 6 goals in his last 8 starts. But is he really worth that much more money than Son and Vardy, as you say? Probably not. Should I play a back 4 of attacking fullbacks? It's not the worst idea in the world, but sometimes, if you have double seat defense, for example, it can come back to bite you. But I think 3 of them is fine, maybe even 4, but don't go with 5 of them. Hi mate, good win yesterday. Stupid to panic and bench Rambo, but I'll learn. James saving me 21 points is massive. Gonna probably do Chilwell in for Diaz by rise and drop today. Yeah, that's probably a good move. And City defense is still good, and they'll probably keep more clean sheets from Game Week 14 onwards. But yeah, patience isn't a virtue of mine. And yeah, benching Ramsdale was a big mistake. Ramsdale, Chilwell, Trent, Cancelo, James, Livramento, Salah, Foden and Boomer, Hwang, Vardy, Antonio, Rafinha, Brownhill. Who should be in the bench? One obviously being Brownhill, but who else? I would be benching either Cancelo or Livramento, one of them, and probably Hwang maybe. Looks a bit weird, but I probably would be looking to bench him. Welcome, Jerry. What do you think on Tottenham's recent form? I've had Kane for the last 2 game weeks. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. We've seen the signs before when they lost to Chelsea 3-0, Arsenal 3-1, and also Palace 3-0. The signs have been there for time, and Nuno Espirito Santo, very negative manager with his tactics, and I just don't think he's a good fit for Spurs. But at the same time, the players have to take some responsibility, and yeah, Kane is just disinterested at the moment, so that's why I didn't get him in over Vardy. But then again, Vardy's only got 2 points for me in 2 game weeks, so yeah, both of them aren't really looking too good. Diaz to James, a good move. I've done the same thing, Jack knows ball. I just think he has more attacking upside, but you know, Diaz will get some clean sheets soon, and he will be getting some bonus points. But yeah, Reece James is just looking so good at the moment. Should I get Reece James for Laporte before his price rise tomorrow, as I'll be priced out, or get Chilwell for Aspie? Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'd get Reece James for Laporte. Laporte is suspended, and Aspie might start next week. Now that we all moved for Chilwell, can't wait for Aspie to get 15-point haul against Burnley. Exactly. I'm looking forward to it. Aspie quite a masterclass. Diaz, he's going to score a header, and he's going to get 10 points. I can't wait. How does the price rise work? Anish, they're basically influenced by the amount of transfer activity and how a player's ownership is changed. And sometimes it is kind of manually changed, I believe, by FPL headquarters. A lot of people believe that. Unfortunate not to get an Antonio return from 4 goals despite his value. Think he'll be the striker to leave to get a new one. Tony, Edouard and Vardy probably gone in 12 for Son. Looking at Jesus too, yeah. It's not kind of a clear-cut answer with Antonio. You don't have to sell him, but you also don't have to keep him. So it's going to be interesting to see how different people go about it. I think that could be a differential in itself, whether you keep him or you sell him. Can't decide if I should get Son. Maybe wait and see how they do. Let's see if they get a new manager and who that manager is. But yeah, I still think it's a good option from Game Week 12 onwards. Welcome, Sensei. Havertz plus Vardy to Son, Hwang, Wilson on Game Week 12, or just Havertz to Cornet and keep Vardy for Havertz. Ronaldo upgrade on 15th. Another 50-50 I'll probably get wrong. It's a tough one. Obviously, don't take my word for it. I'm just giving my advice and opinions. I probably would go for Havertz and Vardy to Son and Hwang, but Havertz to Cornet looks pretty decent, and that gives you enough money to then do Vardy to Ronaldo. So maybe just, yeah, I'd say reassess. So that's what I'd say right now. Go for Son and Hwang, but I can see the appeal of getting Ronaldo in a few weeks' time and getting Cornet. So let's see how Game Week 11 goes and then make your final decision ahead of Game Week 12. It's really difficult to say who has a better defence between Chelsea and City. I think City have the better defence and the underlying stats back it up. But the thing with Chelsea, though, they're more focused on defence than City. City are focused on attack, so they leave those high spaces from the high line, and that's why they concede more goals. They're more vulnerable to the counter-attack. But I think City are a better defence, at least individually. And in terms of the underlying stats and how many clean sheets they should have kept, City have been hard done by, in my opinion. I'm just 4 points behind you. I hope Hwang does good against Everton. Yeah, you'll probably go ahead of me, Chelsea Blues, to be honest. I think Hwang could do pretty well against Everton. Had a terrible issue with my bench. Kovacic and Lukaku injured. I got 59 this week, but worried about the coming weeks with a weak defence. Looking good this week, but yeah, in future weeks you can then rectify that. I'd get rid of Lukaku. He's going to be out for several more weeks. I'm going to start Foster this week. I'm not. I'm never starting him again. I don't know what got into me, and I made a big mistake. What I will say, though, and you can call me sorry or whatever, it's just my opinion, though. With Ramsdale, very lucky to keep a clean sheet. Obviously, he was the main reason Arsenal did keep one, but Leicester should have scored. And on another day, you know, him making that save and hitting the crossbar, that goes in. You know, these things can happen, but Ramsdale, just start him over Foster. The same goes for Sanchez or any other, keeper. That is your first keeper. What do you think about Vardy to Ronaldo? That's a good move, but ahead of Game Week 13 or 15. I wouldn't be making it now. Maybe even ahead of Game Week 12, but yeah, not something I'd be looking to do at this moment in time. Vardy is looking really good against Leeds. Force and Rafinha to Cornet. Do that ahead of Game Week 12, if anything. Don't do it yet. Thoughts about Cornet? Seems to be playing as a forward, but a midfielder in FPL. Yeah, out of position. The right type of out of position. So he's someone on my radar. He could come in for Rafinha or Townsend. And don't get him in this week ahead of Chelsea. He could do well, but I wouldn't do that. Maybe ahead of Game Week 12, that's the time to get him in. Laporte replacement of having Rudiger, Chilwell and Livramento. I would either get Trent if you have enough money. That would require another transfer though. If not, Reece James. Or you can just get Ben White, maybe a Brentford defender as well, to be fair. Off topic, but for UCL Fantasy, is it a good idea to wildcard? I rather would wildcard him match day 3 because obviously the same fixtures in match day 3 and 4. Match day 3 has already gone by, but it's still a good time to wildcard, I think. I made a video on it, Corey. If you want, check it out. I showed you the best wildcard team you can make for UCL Fantasy. Is it good? It's good that we can all laugh about the yo-yo Chelsea and City hauls and not take it too seriously. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it, to be honest. It happened last season as well. Saka and Mbeumo, Rafinha, Jimenez, Livramento. Which two should I bench? I would bench... Tough one. I wouldn't bench Saka because he does face Watford. Oh, that's tough. Maybe Jimenez and maybe Livramento, but they could all do well. Is Cancelo a good pick? I still think it's a good pick and probably the best from City, at least in the defence. I have Ramsdale, Foster, Cancelo, James, Chilwell, Trent, Livramento, Foden, Salah, Tielemans, Mbeumo, Brownhill, Jimenez, Kane, Tony. Who to start? Ramsdale for sure. I'd start James and Chilwell, Trent as well, and Foden, Salah, Mbeumo. I'd start Tony and Jimenez, and then how many are we missing? Let's see. So Ramsdale, James, Chilwell, Trent, Foden, Salah, Mbeumo, Kane, Tony. Yeah, we need 2 more players. So I would go for either Cancelo or Livramento. Take your pick there. I'm not too sure about that one. And I'd start Tielemans. Yeah. But to be fair, Jimenez could do all right against Palace. Should I keep Rodrigo? He is facing Leicester, so I think he could do all right in that fixture. Yeah, I'd probably keep him if you haven't already. But I wouldn't be bringing him in. Chelsea's fullbacks offer just so much potential. I'm sticking with them as long as I can. Yeah, same here, Flying Dutchman, even though I just got them in. Why the hell would you want Kane? I'm wishing I never brought in Son, but at least he looks like he's trying. Well, the thing is with Kane, he has the quality, and when he has, when he's in the right mindset, he will start getting the points. But yeah, I'd rather have Son, to be fair. Ideal midfield 5 going forward. Salah, Foden, Cornet at the moment, I'd say, is looking really good. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. I'd say Smith Rowe, potentially. And then, yeah, you can just get a budget option. But if you're looking to go with 5 in midfield, maybe Mason Mount is still a good choice, to be fair. Gallagher, also someone to consider. Once again, on our radar. I just didn't expect that from him, to be fair. He just wasn't looking as promising as he was in the first few game weeks he started. But yeah, those are the sorts of names I'd be looking at. Definitely Salah and Foden. Ronaldo over Kane all day long, regardless of fixtures. Yeah, fair enough. At least at the moment. If it was Kane from last season, I would maybe debate that. Like Son's long-term fixtures until Game Week 25, but I want Ronaldo. Probably will, and I don't see a way for him. Son and Salah, it'll have to be a stay for Son to get Ronaldo in 15 for Crystal Palace or 16 versus Norwich. Yeah, it's a tough one. That's something I have to decide myself, but I might end up not getting Son in the end and just getting Ronaldo. No one is absolutely essential except Salah at the moment. Force on Cornet for Havertz and Vardy for Ronaldo. Not respect question I was thinking of doing in the upcoming game weeks. Yeah, get Cornet in for Havertz in the next few game weeks, but not now. Give Havertz this week. He can do really well, and maybe even next week. And as for Vardy to Ronaldo, that's something to do in game week 13 or 15. Also put Foster ahead of Ramsdale. What a poor decision, but 62 points with Gray still to come. Yeah, you could have had 70 points. So it is what it is, but still a good week for you. Just watch the highlights. That Ronaldo goal was awesome. It was an amazing goal, wasn't it? And even the offside goal he scored, really well taken finish, but it was offside. Is Cornet a shout? He is, but do not get him in this week. He does face Chelsea. You know any FPL creator on Twitter that supports Brighton? I think FPL is one of them. Sanchez, Steele, Chilwell, James, Sarr, Cancelo, Livramento, Mbeumo, Mount, Salah, Foden, Antonio, Vardy, Brownhill. Who to bench? I would bench one of Cancelo, Livramento once again. This is tough. This is really tough. Oh my god. Oh, who do you bench? Yeah, I'd probably bench Cancelo and Livramento and maybe Antonio or Foden. One of those two. Everyone wants those 4 defenders yet, and I don't blame them, to be honest. Gallagher, Mount, Saka, Smith Rowe, Salah, Benrahma, Foden. Who to start? I would I'd definitely start Salah, obviously. He's not in the discussion. I'd still start Foden. And I'd start Saka, actually, and Mount. I'd start those 4. Didn't you mention 6 midfielders there or something? I've got Sanchez, Foster, Duffy, Livramento, Diaz, James, Rudiger, Smith Rowe, Rafinha, Son, Gallagher, Salah, Tony, Vardy, Antonio. Worth a bench boost? No. Save it for a double game week in my opinion. Dylan, how many times have you transferred people in that were in amazing form and it turns out you missed the boat because they blanked the next 4? I'm not too sure, but it tends to happen with my CE defenders, oddly enough, with Diaz and this lot. It happens to everyone and it happens often, but it's kind of inevitable. You can't help it. Sometimes, you make a reactionary transfer or you make a good transfer and you get a bit of bad luck with injuries. But it has happened plenty of times. And also the other way around. I rage transferred Azpilicueta for James and Chilwell. Bad decision. I did the same thing, mate. Over the last 2 game weeks, I did the exact same thing as you. Maybe, maybe not. I think Diaz could do well in the coming game weeks, especially for a long period of time. But Chilwell and James just offer so much attacking potential. Fun stat, Chelsea defence has scored more goals than 8 teams have scored in total. I'm sure one of them is Spurs, isn't it? Maybe. But yeah, that's absolutely crazy. Malandu, Azpilicueta, Chilwell last game week, lost 0.3 million. Yeah, I did it last game week and I'm happy to have done it, to be fair. But really surprised about Azpilicueta, just suddenly not playing at all. Man City upcoming fixtures are good, but they have very less gaps. So Man City assets can be risky when Pep Roulette will be at his peak. Yeah, I agree, to be fair. And when more competitions come into play, like the FA Cup and the Carabao again, yeah, I completely agree, to be honest. You deserve more subs and great channel, mate. Thank you very much, Christian. Much appreciated. And good to see you on board as well. Still stuck with Mount. Glad I didn't get rid before his haul. If he doesn't start midweek, I imagine him playing in the weekend. Yeah, I completely agree. He was ill and he should be back for game week 11, or at least in contention to start. Antonio to Tony this week, Sissoko to Son next week. Yeah, Josh, I'd do that, to be honest. Just bear in mind Spurs are awful, but that looks good. Is it time to switch Diaz to Chilwell? Maybe, but I'd still have one City defender. I wouldn't get rid of them completely, to be honest. But then again, another red card or, nonsense from City against United. Maybe I'll change my mind. Is it time to switch? Oh yeah, I just said that. I want Zaha eventually. I'm trying to get a team that's as consistent as possible. I get that, but Zaha isn't consistent and he only just got his first open play goal of the season and that was his 50th Premier League goal in how many seasons? I don't think Zaha is the most consistent. I'd rather get Gallagher, who's significantly cheaper and has got more points and is probably a bit more consistent, if anything. Lamptey, not for me. Obviously, I'll keep an eye on him, but nah, I'm not going to go there and he's too injury prone. I'm probably still going to go for Rudiger over Chilwell and James. Yeah, rock and roll. I still agree. I'd get Rudiger and one of those fullbacks if possible. Is Greater Smith Rowe a good move? I would bench Smith Rowe against Liverpool and put Livramento in, who plays Norwich. Yeah, I think so. You can rotate very well between those two. That's a really good point, actually. Smith Rowe and Livramento have a really good combination of fixtures. But then again, just bear in mind, fixtures aren't always, you can't just base off fixtures. I played Foster over Ramsdale because of the fixture and it bit me, of course. Would you rather have Ronaldo for Watford, Chelsea, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, or Kane for Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich if you already have Son? Probably Ronaldo because long term he's the better asset than Kane. I know I'm still questioning if he's going to play FCL. FCL? Are you talking about UCL Fantasy? Should I remove Lukaku or Jota? I'd remove Lukaku because he's out for several more weeks, but I'd get rid of Jota too, to be fair. I already took a hit this past game week and got Tony and Chilwell. Yeah, I do Lukaku to either Vardy, maybe Ronaldo already, or someone just significantly cheaper, like for example Hwang or Broca if he's fit. And then yeah, I'd then get someone else for Jota, maybe Foden if you don't have him already. Vardy, Antonio, Jesus, Tony or Ronaldo, one striker. Long term, I have to say Ronaldo, but at this moment in time, I'd still say Vardy over the next 5 or 6. I'm going to stick to my gun there. I wonder how many times Smith Rowe will rise from now until Game Week 13 because it would annoy me if I can't actually move in Boomer for him then. Probably by 0.2 million at least, especially if he does well against Watford, which I could see happening, to be fair. Please guide which two should I bring in, Gallagher and Boomer, Henderson, Smith Rowe. Not Henderson. I know he scored an amazing goal, but not him. I'd say Smith Rowe and Mbeumo. But Gallagher's also good, to be fair, and he's probably a better asset than Mbeumo. I'm just saying Mbeumo because of the fixtures. Time to get rid of Antonio. Yeah, if anything, if there's ever a time to get rid of him, it's now, and you can get him back in a few weeks' time. Start Livramento or Townsend? I'd probably start Livramento. Southampton are good backup to a lot of teams' bad fixtures. That's why I have McCarthy as backup goalkeeper, because he has the best fixtures when the popular goalkeepers have the top three sides. Yeah, it could actually be a good rotating goalkeeper pair, as you've just shown there. And yeah, Livramento is just an absolutely amazing player at the moment, FPL-wise. Yeah, I agree, the Flying Dutchman. I wouldn't touch Henderson. Bring Gallagher in for Mbumo or wait for the Norwich game. Do not get rid of Mbumo now, Mohamed. Yeah, I'd wait for the Norwich game at least. What do you think of cashing in Spurs defence now? Dyer, just 4.5 million and even on free kicks. No, I would not be getting Spurs defenders right now. I'd be steering clear, to be honest, so not for me. Obviously, if they get a new manager in like Conte, which is very unlikely, but if they do, then I'd consider him. Force on Jesus in place of Kane, Salah, Foden, Son, and Reece James in for Duffy. I like those moves, but if I'm being honest, I'd rather just have Vardy or Ronaldo as a kind of premium striker, and if not, Antonio, Hwang Hee-chan, Tony, or Broca. Those are the kind of strikers I'm looking at the moment. But of course, let's not discount the likes of Wilson and these lot, Watkins. But at the moment, I'm looking at those sorts of players. Spurs not looking the brightest. Son pick, still a really good option from Game Week 12 onwards. Just be prepared for the occasional blank, and Son and Spurs looking dreadful as a whole. And thank you to everyone who is tuning in at the moment. Very much appreciated. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. And once again, looking to get 10,000 subscribers. We just hit 7,000, so the next step will be 8,000, of course. We'll take it one step at a time. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you haven't already. Dylan_RCM is the same as my YouTube handle, and we'll still go for a little while longer, but we have been going on for an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours actually, so time has flown by. Happy Halloween to everyone, and hopefully your Game Week 10 wasn't as bad as mine. Mine was absolutely awful, so let's just look ahead to Game Week 11 and forget about Game Week 10. Let's see. Thoughts on Cornet? Should get rid of Rafinha for him. Don't get rid of Rafinha this week. He'll probably outscore Cornet in Game Week 11, so don't do that. Reguilon might be good during Spurs fixtures for assists. Yeah, I agree, but I still wouldn't go there until they get a new manager or show some consistency for once. Worth keeping Rudiger in as he's more nailed, or get in James or Chilwell, or just transfer out Semedo to one of them. Yeah, definitely. I'd keep Rudiger and get one of those fullbacks for Semedo. Dylan, any thoughts on Discord? Yeah, I haven't actually opened one yet, but I might do that. Jesus, Tony, and Hwang as forwards. I like Tony and Hwang. Jesus is still a good option, but once again, I prefer Ronaldo, Vardy, Antonio even when the fixtures turn for them. And also, I'd say, even Wilson potentially. But obviously, Jesus is a good option, but I just would rather have Foden to cover City attack. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I agree, the Flying Dutchman. And to be honest, there's so many options this year, isn't it? And as for the captaincy, a lot of people have been asking me, am I going to go for Salah? I'm not sure, to be honest. I actually might deviate from that and just be very punty and go for one of the Chelsea fullbacks, which is very risky, or Jamie Vardy, but maybe the safe call is just going for Salah. But should I go safe? I've been going a bit too safe recently, and it has cost me. Who should I play, Livramento or Smith-Rowe? I'd play Smith-Rowe this week. Aubameyang, still a good option, Bobby, but not my favourite, to be honest. And he's been getting all his goals at home, none away. Son for Mount, -4. Not this week, Turkish. Do it next week ahead of Game Week 12. Any idea why Lukaku didn't decrease in price since he got injured? Once again, it could be what I alluded to earlier. FPL headquarters might sometimes have a manual input on these decisions. Because if, let's say, for example, Lukaku has 40% ownership and then he goes down to 10%, you'd think he'd go down by 0.3, 0.4 million, but they kind of prevent that from happening, and he only goes down by 0.1 or 0.2. Play 1, bench 2, Jota, Antonio, Livramento, or transfer out Jota for Son for free and play him. I'd play... I'd do Jota out for Son. And I'd play Son, and I'd actually play Antonio, but Livramento could actually come in for Antonio for you. Spurs are leaky at the back, so Townsend is more likely to score points than Livramento. Potentially, to be honest, but once again, a lot can change from now up until the deadline. Nuno could be sacked, for example. I would go from Kane to Ronaldo after Norwich. That is probably something I'd do if I had Kane at this moment in time. Cornet, good after Chelsea, definitely. So don't get him in now. He could do alright against Chelsea, but it's still very unlikely. I'd get him in afterwards, if anything. Aubameyang, a good differential, I agree. But once again, I'd rather have Smith-Rowe, even Saka potentially to cover Arsenal attack. What is your current rank? It's on screen. It's on your left-hand side of the screen. Unfortunately, I'm 161k after substitutions. It's technically 140 right now, but after subs are made, I'm 161, and it's going to go down even more after tomorrow. So it's just been an awful week, to be fair. Could be out of the top 200k. When is it time, do you think, a Trent downgrade to facilitate a Ronaldo move is a bad idea? Because the only way I could do it is to downgrade Son to someone like Foden or Jota. Foden in for Son isn't the worst idea, but then again, you probably wouldn't want to do that. And Trent downgrade, I'm not too sure. Once again, just wait with Ronaldo. You don't have to get him in now. He faces City. I'd be getting him in ahead of game week 13 or 15. Love Son, but wouldn't touch Spurs with a 10-foot pole. I don't blame you, to be honest. And yeah, that performance really put me off Son as well. And I'm not really in a rush to get him in, just like you are, by the sounds of things. But yeah, that's how it is. But thank you very much to everyone who has been tuning in. Once again, if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Very much appreciated. And let's get in any more last questions and comments before we wrap up. And let me actually check. 1 second. I don't even have my phone with me, do I? Jesus. Right, let's get my phone here. I haven't even checked how many people we have here, but we did have near 300 people at one point, I believe, unless the people in the chat were lying. So let's check. I think we have maybe 100 now, something like that. Let's see, go on. And as you can hear, fireworks are going on. It's not bonfire night yet, but it will be very soon. And it's still Halloween. My team is actually a disaster, to be honest. Come on, hurry up. My phone is just bugging out at the moment. Let's see. Should I transfer out Adam Armstrong? He looked really good in game week 10, but I'd still rather have other players, to be fair. Yeah, well, I might still go. I mean, I have been streaming for 2 hours, mate. So I'm going to go for a little while longer, then I'm going to have dinner. But of course, if you have any questions or comments, let me know. 112 people watching, like I said, very much appreciated everyone tuning in. And yeah, normally I do the reaction streams on Saturdays. I wasn't able to yesterday. I recorded a lot of UCL fantasy content in preparation for today and tomorrow. And if you haven't already, check out those videos as well if you do play that. So let's see. Yeah, 125 likes. Obviously, thank you very much to everyone who has done that. Let's see. So, sorry, I got your advice on Jota to Son for free, but got confused with your response to play 1 or 2 out of Jota Son if transfer done. I would play Son and Antonio, but you can always go for Livramento over Antonio. I'd definitely play Son regardless. For some Cornet, personally think his addition to Burnley makes them unpredictable now. Yeah, exactly. They look like a kind of maverick team at the moment, especially offensively. And yeah, I'm looking to get Cornet and potentially I'm keeping an eye on him, but after the Chelsea game, if anything. Who to replace Sarr, Mbeumo, Smith-Rowe or Gallagher? Either Mbeumo or Smith-Rowe, but they're all good options. Which forwards who is not a premium would you pair with Tony and Hwang? Well, normally it's Antonio, but because of the fixtures, I would look away from him and I would get Broca if he's fit. Definitely Broca. And yeah, that's kind of my first choice pick at the moment. Who should I bench for Chilwell, James, Antonio, Rafinha, Son, Hwang? Either Hwang or Antonio for me. And I'd probably bench Hwang. Should I transfer out Antonio? Potentially, to be honest. But the thing is, like, he can do well against Liverpool. I'm more concerned about the Chelsea fixture. Then again, when he does play City, he can do well at the Etihad. I have 6.9 million in the bank. Best game week 11 punt. I actually mentioned it earlier. I think Trossard in midfield could be a really good punt. And up front, if we check the fixtures once again, who was it? Who did I mention? Aubameyang, actually, yeah, against Watford could be a really good punt, but he's not someone I'd like to have long term. He's really good in the home games, but yeah, that's what I'd probably be looking at the moment. But other than that, in terms of punts, not too sure, to be honest. Yeah, most of them are kind of highly owned. Yeah, that's what I'd be looking at, to be honest. Yeah, those sorts of options. Spurs are bad perhaps, but Son can always produce the business. Wouldn't discount him. Yeah, I agree, to be honest. Son is so consistent. Look at his performances this season. His underlying stats are even better than last season, despite Spurs being even worse this campaign. So I completely agree. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Greetings from Kuala in Malaysia. Oh, big up Malaysia. So many people from Malaysia watching. And thank you very much for tuning in once again. I want Son, but Vardy is still hopeful. Any options? keep Vardy ahead of Leeds, and obviously he plays Chelsea after, but then some good fixtures to come. So maybe give him a few more weeks and then reassess with Son. And maybe by that time, you keep Vardy, he does well. You can then do a swap from Vardy to Ronaldo, which might be even better. So I'd probably just wait for now for sure. And then ahead of Game Week 12, reassess. That's what I'd probably do. And that's what I'm going to be doing for my own team. And in terms of future transfer plans, I'm either going to get Son in midfield or Ronaldo up front around Game Week 15. So that's kind of a key decision to make. And I can easily move Foden on, for example, but I don't want to do that. I think he's really good. I think Rafinha and Townsend could be the ones to make way. Cornet is another one I'm keeping an eye on. I'm looking to get him in. Maybe Smith Rowe. And finally, show Arsenal some faith. I got Saka in, didn't really turn out right. Got rid of him for a hit. And then he starts getting the assist. But to be fair, it was a bit of a fortunate one, I'd say. Maybe you could argue the first goal shouldn't have stood because it shouldn't even have got to that corner and there was a foul in the build-up. Of course, this is all hypothetical. It didn't happen. Saka's still a good option, but I'd rather have Smith Rowe, even Gallagher, and I'd probably say Cornet at this moment in time. But yeah, pretty happy with my defence. It looks really good. Maybe I should just play Fav at the back every week, to be honest, the way this team is set up. Why is to bring in Smith Rowe and start him over Livramento? You don't have to do that though. Livramento can do well against Villa, but yeah, I think Smith Rowe could do really well against Watford, and it's worth a transfer. Dylan, you're my favourite YouTuber. Thanks for the great content. Thank you very much, Riyadh. Very much appreciated, and thanks for everyone else for those kind comments. Watch Vardy score against all the big clubs, even if they lose. Yeah, I wouldn't mind, and if I do keep him, I probably would still start him. Maybe not against Chelsea. What was your best rank in FPL? I've only played 2 seasons and my best rank was 55k, so nothing too impressive. But 2 seasons, 67k and 55k. And in UCL Fantasy, 20k and 3k. And doing really well in UCL Fantasy as opposed to FPL, where it's just gone downhill since match day, I'd say 6 or 7. It's been really poor, unfortunately. I was around 60, 70k at one point this season and just haven't really kicked on. Just hoping for a really good week. And that will then get me into the positions I want. So let's wait and see what happens there. But yeah, it's not looking too good at the moment, to be honest. Benching Cancelo and Walker for Game Week 11. It might be a mistake, but oh well. Yeah, I mean, I can understand benching Walker, but Cancelo, I probably would start him. But then again, it depends who you'd have to bench in place for one of them. So it's not really the worst decision in the world. But City are capable of getting a clean sheet against Man United, to be fair. And still, Man United are such an iffy team. They're so inconsistent. But then again, Ollie does love playing against Manchester City, but more so at the Etihad than at Old Trafford, if anything. But yeah, let me know what you think of my transfers. And yeah, Reece James, I brought him in for Diaz. Jesus, I mean, let's wait and see how that turns out. It's going to be very funny when Diaz outscores him. And Ramsdale, not making that mistake again. He's going to be starting for me over Foster. Foster's just going to be on my bench permanently. If Ramsdale were to play City or Liverpool, and Foster plays like someone like Norwich, then maybe I'd consider it, but I probably shouldn't, to be honest, at this point. And what a big mistake that was, benching him. Livramento always on my bench, always delivering. I probably should start him, maybe over Cancelo or Antonio. I am considering it, to be fair. And Townsend against the weak Spurs side, his former team, could be on the cards. Douglas Luiz is probably, I think he has COVID, so he's probably going to be out. Let's see. So kind of want Jesus as a nice City differential like him, but may struggle to get him with Tony, Antonio Huang, Jimenez, Edouard, CR7, Bamford, and DCL went back. Not sure I can fit him in suitably. Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, if you have Foden, you don't have to have Jesus as well. And there's just different options you can go for up front. Do you think that for a 1 week... Wait, let's see. Oh, do you think that number 1 in the game week is a bot? Because they always pick free triple captain on the highest points. What I think it is not necessarily a bot. It's literally just someone making multiple accounts and literally just making random teams. Let me triple captain Cornet, then he scores twice against Southampton. Let me triple captain Reece James, and then Bob's your uncle. So I think that's what happens more so than bots. Hi, can you rate my team for the next week? Starting 11: Sanchez, Cancelo, Diaz, Cancelo. Oh, I just said Cancelo twice. Chilwell, White, Smith Rowe, Salah, Foden, Mount, Jimenez, Aubameyang. It's a good team. I like Aubameyang for this week. Not necessarily in future weeks, but that's a really good team for this week. Mount should be fit and available. And Foden against United can still do really well. I like the team a lot. I'd say it's a 7 or 8 out of 10. I think it could be pretty solid. Ivan, Boomer and Tony, start both and bench James? No, do not bench James. Do not bench James. People made the same mistake against Newcastle. Some people were lucky enough to get him off the bench. Don't bench James. Just start him every week. If he gets a 1 pointer, so be it. And I'd start both Tony and Mbeumo and bench someone else, honestly. Thank you, the Flying Dutchman. And yeah, I hope to catch you probably on Friday. And there's also going to be a deadline stream tomorrow for UCL Fantasy. Not tomorrow, sorry, on Tuesday. But there will be plenty of content coming along. There's going to be a best limitless team for UCL Fantasy on the Monday. So stay tuned for that. And maybe my FPL. Oh, Jesus. FPL. I'm crying. My FPL team selection video. Arsenal facing Liverpool in Game Week 12. Yeah. Yeah, let's see if Ramsdale does well there. Probably not. Vardy captain against Leeds. I think he's a good captaincy option. He's my vice at the moment, and I am considering it. So, you know, Salah can do well against West Ham, and I think he will. But if you're looking for a differential, I think Vardy could be it. A lot of people are going to be getting rid of Vardy now, being very reactionary, and I think he can do really well. What are your opinions on Leeds at the moment? I think they're one of the worst teams in the league at the moment. But to be fair, they're depleted. They have so many players missing. They need Bamford up front. And if you look at their bench, they don't have too many options. But Rafinha's a quality player, and he is carrying them at the moment. 0.1 million for me this season is like an X that doesn't want to break up. Yeah, sometimes I see that happening where I want to get someone in, and I'm just 0.1 million off. But thankfully, it hasn't happened too often. Have you already made the James transfer? Yep, that's how he's here on screen in my FPL site. I've already made the transfer, James in for Diaz. For Game Week 11, I have 2 transfers but don't know how to use them yet. Ramsdale, Livramento, James, Trent, Saka, Gray, Salah, Tony, Antonio, Ronaldo, Foster, Cancelo, Walker, Douglas Luiz. Okay, so what I would do in your situation is get rid of Walker for either Rudiger or Chilwell. That's the first thing I'd do. And I'd keep Rafinha for this week. I'd keep Salah, of course, Saka for this game week. And I would get rid of maybe Antonio, actually. And I'd get maybe Hwang or Broca. That's what I'd maybe do, if Broca is fit, of course. Yeah, with Ronaldo, if you've kept him for this long, I'd keep him for the long run. And he's got a great run from game weeks 13 or 15, depending on how you look at it. And yeah, that's what I do. Gray's another one who could be on the chopping block for you. And you can get maybe Smith Rowe, for example. But then again, I wouldn't double up with Smith Rowe and Saka. But yeah, definitely I'd be making a defender transfer there. Could Crystal Palace players or even Brighton players be an option? Yes, they can be good options, but to get reliable, good points, not necessarily. Maybe Brighton defenders or Sanchez in goal, and Gallagher and Olise when he starts for Palace. But yeah, other than that, not necessarily. Duffy, good against Newcastle. Yes, you know, assuming that Dan Burn is still out. Otherwise, he could actually be benched again. Che Adams looks really good recently. Against Chelsea, scored in the Carabao Cup, obviously scored against Watford, a really well taken goal, and then he missed a much easier chance with a header. But yeah, I think he's a decent option, but still, I would rather have Broca when he's fit, if he starts. James or Chilwell? I still prefer Chilwell, but Reece James, of course, in the last 2 game weeks has outscored him. I'd get rid of Antonio due to his hard fixture run, maybe bring him in like 5 game weeks time when they ease off. Yep, and I probably would be looking to do something similar if I hadn't already made a transfer. But yeah, I think you're completely right there. And I might do something similar. Downgrade Antonio to maybe Hwang or Broca, and then upgrade one of my midfielders to Son or someone else. Maybe just wait and then do Vardy back up to Ronaldo in game weeks 13 or 15. That's what I'm looking to do. Zaha or Gallagher? I prefer Gallagher, to be honest, pay one. But Zaha has been decent, but only 1 open play goal this season. Thanks, I'm not getting rid of Ronaldo. He's too good despite a sloppy Man United, but I'm Portuguese, so I'm a bit biased there. Fair enough. And yeah, I wouldn't be getting rid of Ronaldo if you kept him this long. A friend of mine still has Ronaldo, Lukaku. Just bench Lukaku. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit weird, to be honest. I just get rid of Lukaku at this point. But Ronaldo, I mean, paid off this week. Should I sell Gray for Gallagher or Smith Rowe? On current form, I'd say Smith Rowe, but Gallagher is a good option too. But I'd probably say Smith Rowe. Arsenal are looking better than Palace. So I'd probably go for Smith Rowe, Mohamed. But both are good options. You can't go wrong with either of them. And let's see how Gray does tomorrow. So maybe don't make the transfer yet, because if Gray looks impressive, you probably would, you know, have second thoughts about getting rid of him. So that's what I would say. Thank you very much to everyone who's been tuning in. Very much appreciated. And yeah, I'm going to be wrapping up now, and I'll answer any last questions that you may have. Once again, if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Very much appreciate everyone who's tuned in today and liked the video. And the reaction streams will tend to take place on the Saturday, and that's how it will kind of go about. But yeah, when I'm not able to, it will be on the Sunday or the Monday. But of course, I'll let you guys know in the community posts. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well, Dylan_RCM. Good luck with Game Week 11. Good luck with the remainder of Game Week 10. I've got no one left, unfortunately. It's a terrible week. But, you know, hopefully Game Week 11 will be much better. And same with UCL Fantasy. That's going much better and much more confident in UCL Fantasy. But after match day 1, I was actually, you know, doing really badly. I was around 200, 300k, but then went up to 883. I wish I had that rank in FPL, but it is much tougher, to be fair. Thank you very much to everyone. Enjoy Halloween. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next time.